We have some horrible breaking news. 2 American soldiers and 1 U.S. civilian interpreter were killed in Syria today, along with 3 other service members who were injured in an ambush from a single ISIS gunman. How'd this happen? The soldiers were conducting what's called a key leader engagement, so they were coordinating counterterrorism efforts with Syrian leaders in the town of Palmyra when the lone gunman opened fire. He was eventually killed himself by U.S. and partner forces. Do we know anything else about the shooter? Well, Reuters is now reporting actually that the shooter was a part of the Syrian security forces, so a group ran by the Interior Ministry of Syria who is working with the U.S. on counterterrorism. Reportedly, the gunman just last Wednesday was issued an evaluation over possible extremist views, and a decision on him was due to be issued tomorrow. Do we know he was affiliated with ISIS? So the DoD and U.S. Central Command claim he is a part of ISIS, and they of course know more than us. It's not beyond the pale to suggest ISIS's ideology infiltrated certain individuals among the Syrian forces. I mean, the whole reason why we have 1,000 to 2,000 troops in Syria in the first place is for counterterrorism efforts to try to contain ISIS. And what has Trump said? He says there will be serious retaliation, and that the president of Syria, who was just in the White House a couple weeks ago, is also extremely angry and disturbed by this attack. 2 Syrian security forces members were also injured in this attack. Wow.
And all right, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it because we are live, guys, and appreciate the support for y'all pulling up. And all right, let's go ahead and get right into it with Trump engaging the press. Go ahead and double tap that screen like the video, and let's get right into it. Well, actually, yeah.
Mr. President, hi, Mr. President, talking Syria.
So we mourn the loss of 3 great patriots in Syria. You know how it happened. It was an ambush, terrible. We also have 3 wounded. They seem to be doing pretty well. But we mourn the loss. These are 3 great people. And it's just a terrible thing. Syria, by the way, was fighting along with us. The new president of Syria is, as they told me, and I'm not surprised, he's devastated by what.
Well, yeah, it seems like a radicalized ISIS member, well, who's actually a part of the team on there, seemed to have accepted his, well, like I said, and during the video, during the early video that I played, they were saying that he was already being evaluated for extremist views, but apparently they were catching on to him and he decided to act now. And sadly, 2 servicemen's lives were taken and others was injured. And that's not the only shooting that happened. I mean, there's a shooting in Syria, a shooting in Australia at a Jewish center. And then, of course, there was a shooting in University of Brown. So it is a very, honestly, it's a very sad day. So let's keep everybody in our prayers.
Happened. This was an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we mourn the loss and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones. Very, very sad.
Mr. President, will the U.S. retaliate against ISIS?
Yeah, we will.
And should U.S. forces are attacked again?
You're going to be safe.
And should the U.S. still be in
We will
Syria?
retaliate. Thank you very much.
And that's Trump saying we will retaliate, but really it's not like we're just going to start recklessly bombing Syria. Honestly, what we're about to do is just pretty much double down on the ISIS insurgent in that area, which is, well, like I said, it's kind of like a small number. And the way they're trying to say is it was like a sleeper cell. So we're looking for a very small group of people.
I also want to ask about another country that you're targeting, which of course is Venezuela. Do you intend on seizing more oil assets from Venezuela and other tankers?
I wouldn't tell you that. I mean, it wouldn't be very smart for me to tell you that. You know, we're supposed to be a little bit secretive. You're a very big time reporter, and I don't think I want to tell a big time reporter or a small time reporter that. But we are knocking out drugs at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We knocked out 96%.
Yeah, and if you didn't know by now, yes, we did take an oil tanker. So we went from blowing up boats in the Caribbean Sea to snatching oil tankers from Venezuela. Like literally snatched it. It's ours now. And the oil that coming out of here is ours. And they've discovered that the oil that was coming out of here was being used to fund, well, so-called terrorism. It'd be going to Iran or China just buying it for themselves and their own consumption. But mainly they're upset that it was going towards terrorism to fund places like, or allegedly Iran and places in Lebanon, basically funding Hezbollah. Now, I'm not too sure about the Hezbollah part, but I am sure about the Iran part.
Of the drugs coming in by water. And nobody can figure out who the 4%. I wouldn't want to be the 4% either, but 96% of the drugs coming in by water. Every one of those boats you see get shot down. You just saved 25,000 American lives. but we knocked out 96% of the drugs coming in by water. And now we're starting by land, and by land is a lot easier. And that's going to start happening. And we're not going to have people destroying our youth, destroying our families. Thinking about youth, everybody. You ever see a family with the fentanyl or cocaine? Colombia has at least 3 cocaine factories. That's a different country. We're not happy about it, but we're stopping it. And we've stopped it now on water. You don't even find boats on water. You don't even see fishing boats on water. You want to go fishing in that area?
Not anymore.
Does anybody want to go fishing in that area? I don't think so. So I just want to say this. We have now a strong.
It's funny though, and the Dems will sit there in our face and say, dude, those are fishermen that you're blowing up, innocent fishermen. Like, we don't know what a fishing boat looks like. Do you guys even know what a fisher boat looks like? And they wouldn't be like fishing in a speedboat, professional fishermen. Like, I hope you guys would know this. So yeah, it's not fishermen, and you know, now maybe we can argue about the shipwreck sailor part, but they're definitely not fishermen.
A year and a half ago, we had millions of people pouring through. Now we have nobody coming in through our border, and we have a strong country. We have a country that's respected. Again, we're going to keep it that way, and we're not going to let people kill 300,000 people a year with drugs.
Mr. President, one more follow-up question.
Yeah,
Mr.
please.
President.
Fraud that you've been pointing out, talking about in Minnesota specifically. There have been some reports resurfacing and circulating even by your own administration alleging Ilhan Omar's marriage to her brother. And this would be a fraudulent situation if there in fact is found to be fraud.
Now, this actually pissed me off this morning. Well, actually last night, because even Alex Jones was going off about it. Trump actually released proof that Ilhan Omar married her brother. No, he didn't actually. Actually, all he did was release a birth certificate that proved that she married her second husband. That's it. That's it. And if you actually do research into the second husband, you realize that he is a citizen of the UK. He's a British citizen. Not only so, Ilhan Omar came into this country in the 90s from Somalia. This guy came from the UK, parents in the UK. So how are we over here thinking that, oh, she married her brother? Oh yeah, we're feeding into stereotypes. Okay, that's what we're doing. Feeding into stereotypes or running off like it's true. But let me tell you what is true. Ilhan Omar has been married 3 times. First time, it didn't work out so well, about 2009 to 2017, decently long marriage. Second marriage, about 2017 to 2019. While she was in her second marriage, she's already dating or already engaging in adultery with her soon-to-be third husband, the white guy, Tim something. I'm trying to remember his last name, but it's Tim. We're going to call the guy Tim because that's his first name. Now, it's kind of crazy how we're hinging on this whole she married her brother, but not hinging on the fact that she's been married 3 times. She cheated on a Somalian man for a white man, but then this is the person that talks the craziest about the American people, but you cheated on your own kind with the people that you say you hate the most. That's the real story, not her marrying her brother, because you can look up the guy that's on the marriage certificate and you can trace him back to the UK.
In a situation like that, would you like to see her denaturalized or others who have similarly committed?
Well, I think she's very bad for our country. All she does is complain. She comes out of a country where they have no government.
True.
They have no military. They have no police. They got no nothing. They don't have a country. And
literally, it's like a 3-way war in Somalia for power. And it's like, literally, it's a shit show over there. There's really no government or no main power over there. And that's why a lot of people leave, because it's literally a civil war area, a 3-way civil war.
Around killing each other. And then she comes over here. She tells the United States of America how it should be run. We don't want to hear from her. I don't want to hear from her. I don't want to speak for everyone.
I don't like Ilhan Omar and her views either, but I don't like the fact that we're just going to come out with blatant lies that's easily disprovable. And it just doesn't make the base look good. So if we're going to sit here and insult Ilhan Omar on anything, it should be the fact that she's been married 3 times and is currently married to a white guy after cheating on a Somali guy. So I think that would be way better to push out in front of her face than, oh, she married her brother. 1, because it's just stereotypes. And 2, it's not true and it's easily disprovable. Like, no, please look it up. Look up the guy that's on the marriage certificate that Trump put out, because that did not prove that she married her brother. It just proved that she was married to some Somali dude back in the day.
but I don't think Emma particularly wants to hear. But don't say it because I don't want to get you in trouble, okay? Just be nice and easy, all right? I'll do it for you, but that part I'll do. But I just want to say that, Mr. President, there's nothing worse than a person that comes in and does nothing but bitch and comes from a place where she shouldn't be telling us what to do.
That's
She shouldn't
true.
be telling us, and everybody agrees.
No, that is very true. Like I see, what was it? I seen the other Somalian people online, well, mainly on X and TikTok, pretty much expressing their grievances with the United States. And this one lady was literally complaining how, oh, you guys put your parents in nursing homes, and I'm just like, lady, at least we have the establishment for a nursing home. I mean, well, please tell me the system that you have to take care of your elderly. And I'm gonna be real with you. I don't all the way agree with the nursing home idea, but at least we have a system to take care of our elderly. Please tell me what you guys got in Somalia. Oh, wait, you don't even got a government? Okay, then please proceed to shut the fuck up.
With me, and what's happening in Minnesota with Somalia, where billions of dollars is being stolen, right? Like candy from a baby. We're not going to let that go on. And it's too great a state to have that happening. And guys like Tom Emmer and others, Pete Stauber, guys like them, they're going to stop it. And they're going to be given the authority to stop it. Because this country's not going to put up with it.
Okay, Mr. President, do you plan to withhold funding?
You talked about land strikes happening soon. Is there anything at this point that can prevent that? And is the objective, if you make that decision?
Well, I don't want to say that, but it's not only land strikes on Venezuela. It's land strikes on horrible people that are bringing in drugs and killing our people. You know, if we were in a war and we lost 300,000 people in a year, because that's what the real number is. It's not 100. You know, you keep hearing 100. And it's a lot worse than that because the families are devastated when they lose their child. If we were in a war, we lost 200,000 or 300,000, but I think it's more than 300,000. And that's a war. That's like a war that would be unparalleled. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. And that's what's happening. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in Venezuela. It's people that are bringing in drugs to our country are targets.
At the end of this year, those extended Obamacare subsidies expire. What's your message to those 24 million Americans who will see their insurance premiums go up?
Don't make it sound so bad because, you know, obviously you're a sycophant for.
Yeah, we are drawing on about 16 days until the Obamacare subsidies run out, and we might be seeing the tripling or doubling of Obamacare healthcare premiums. So it's either, and here's the thing, like I said, the Republicans have proposed, like I said, this health savings account, while the Democrats just want to push the status quo. The status quo is that we send these billions of dollars to the insurance companies while they still raise premiums and they make millions and billions. And then what the Republicans want to do is, well, take those billions of dollars in subsidies that we were going to give to the insurance companies and give them to the people and open up competition and all that good stuff. Now, what does that look like? They haven't really explained too extensively. So this is why a lot of people are wanting us to go with the status quo, because what we know.
Democrats, you're obviously a provider of bad news for Republicans. Let me just say something. The Republicans, I think I can speak for Tom and most other people. I think what most Republicans want to see is what I want to see. And I leave it to them, and hopefully they're going to put great legislation on this desk right here. We want to see all of the money that's been squandered and given to insurance companies, because Obamacare is horrible health insurance. It's far too expensive, and it always has been. But what it really is a way of making insurance companies rich. We want the money not to be paid at all to insurance companies. You know, insurance companies have gone up 1,700% over a short, meaning the stock, 1,700% over.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just the biggest one. That's like 1,700% is what United Healthcare went up by. Now, the other ones went up by at least 1,000%. So all of these insurance companies have seen tremendous growth since Obamacare has been enacted all the way through. And then they've seen even bigger growth with the healthcare subsidies as American people are forced to pay higher premiums. Like, who did this help? Because it definitely didn't help us. It seems like it helped everybody but the American people. I mean, shoot, it helped the insurance companies. It helped, you know, like what? It helped the medical manufacturers of pharmaceuticals, medical equipment. It helped those guys, but it didn't help us.
For a short period of time. And they've taken in hundreds of billions and even trillions of dollars. and we want the money to go to the people. They'll go in the form of a insurance account, healthcare account, or any other form that we can create. We have a lot of different forms. We want to give the money to the people and let the people buy their own great healthcare. And they'll save a lot of money and it'll be great. Now, the problem we have is that the Republicans are not at all controlled by the insurance companies. But you know who is? The Democrats. The Democrats have received hundreds of millions of dollars. They're totally controlled by the insurance companies. So we might not get too many of the votes. But
I would say that both sides are influenced by the insurance companies. But when you look it up, there is more people on the Democrat side taking money from pharmaceutical lobbies and insurance company lobbies. So, yeah, you can definitely somewhat blame the Dems on that. Both sides do it, but the Dems take more money. And I mean, the best example is Elizabeth Warren. Yes, Elizabeth Warren. That's probably the best example I can give you.
I think we get some Democrat votes. So I don't know how you feel about it, Tom, but everybody wants to see this happen. Everybody. I put it out, and all of a sudden, we've taken over in a positive way. The Republicans have taken over healthcare in a positive way. I want to see the billions of dollars go to the people, not to the insurance companies. And I want to see the people go out and buy themselves great healthcare, much better healthcare at very little cost. That's what I want. And it's so simple.
President, thank you. A follow-up on that. Many congressional Republicans have said they won't vote for an Obamacare extension deal if it includes funding for abortion. Would you assure those Republicans that you will not propose?
Well, we're going to look into it. We're going to look into a lot of things. That's one of many factors. But what we do want to see is we want to see the money go to the people, not to the insurance.
Mr. President.
No, wait. You have to be nice and easy. She's very aggressive. Okay, please.
Thanks, Mr. President. Can you tell us how this free economic zone would work in the Donbass and land that the Russians took by force?
Well, I don't want to do that now. It's a very complex situation, but it would work. And a lot of people want to see it work. And we're going to.
I ain't gonna lie. The whole little free economic zone proposal in the Donbass region is save face. It's just a save face and not make it look like we're just conceding land, or not make it look like Ukraine is conceding land to Russia. That's really what it's about. An economic free zone. I mean, let's be real. It would still be under Russian control, since it would be majority of troops from Russia that's still there. And they're not backing off that line. And Russia still stands firmly that they want Ukraine to retreat and back off all lines and let them take the territories. So we'll see how far that gets them, because it looks like this version of the peace deal might be dead on arrival when it comes to, when it comes straight to Putin's desk or the Kremlin.
All I want to do is I want to stop the death of 25,000 people a month. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. There were new Epstein photos released today showing you and also Bill Clinton, Steve Bannon. What were your reaction to?
Yo, and shout out to my man Daniel Castro for starting us off. He said, cry some more, Dems. You have no policy with Trump. I mean, no, literally, though. Y'all have really no real plan but just hate Trump. I mean, can you please tell me your plan on affordability? Oh, yeah, you don't have one. But all you want to do is point to Trump. I thought so. And it's kind of crazy, because this is where I feel bad for Dems, and I'm talking about the Democratic base, because they get you guys to turn out in big numbers just for pointing fingers and not actually giving you guys no real policy on how they're going to fix affordability. You ever notice that? And then you actually believe in the people who raise taxes, who actually run the most high tax areas, high tax state, high tax cities, and you're voting for these guys on affordability. I pity you guys sometimes. I really do.
Those new photos that were released.
Well, I haven't seen it, but I mean,
well,
everybody
luck,
knew
God
this
bless.
man. He was all over Palm Beach. His photos with everybody. I mean, almost there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have photos with him. So that's no big deal. I know nothing about it.
A lot of people, I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of people are about to find out when you vote for somebody just because of F Trump, and they don't have to give you no real policies. Because that's literally what it was. And when I was looking at a lot of these guys' affordability proposal, there was no proposal on how to tackle affordability. Not one, not in Miami, not in Virginia, bro, not in New Jersey. They just said F Trump. I'm just like, all right. So you guys are about to see what happens when you just vote on the whole F Trump narrative. And what, you think they're actually going to fix affordability for you? Bro, I'm be honest with you. Like I said, the Dems run some of the most expensive places in the world, expensive cities, expensive states in the world, most unaffordable places, but you're voting for them on affordability. when we just spent 4 years with them and they made affordability 10 times worse. Like record high inflation, record high price jumps, and you're voting for them on affordability? Like I said, man, God bless. God bless your heart.
What role do you want to personally play in the decision by the Fed on interest rates?
Well, I've made a lot of money. I've been very successful. And I think my role should be at least that of a recommending. They don't have to follow what I say, but we're going to be choosing a new Fed person in the pretty near future. But they went out, they went out with 71 different people, all economists and Trump. I was 71. And of the 71 people, I got it right. And one other person, I think from the Wharton School of Finance, my alma mater, got it right. There were 2 people that got it right out of 7, but I was one of them. So I think I certainly should have a role in talking to whoever the head of the Fed is or the Fed. I don't think that, in the old days it used to happen. Nowadays it's sort of, they think it shouldn't happen. But I've done great. I've made a lot of money. I've been very successful.
And let's all remember, the reason why prices are high is because prices jumped up 20% across the board under Joe Biden due to the crazy inflation, and which was caused by all the money he added into the money supply with his, crazy spending bills. So, yeah, to sit here and try to blame what a 4-year affordability crisis on Trump is hilarious. The man has only been in office for almost 12 months, almost a full year right now. And you guys are trying to sit here and convince the American people. And here's the thing. You actually are convincing the American people that, prices went up because of Trump. But the price increase that we're dealing with today and still dealing with is because of Biden. And you can actually look this up on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Consumer Price Index, when you compare Trump's first term to Biden's term, and it shows it across the board. 20% increases across the board, like from housing, like groceries, like overall consumer price index goods went up under Biden. But they'll still sit here and lie to your face and tell you, prices are up because of Trump. And I mean, all you gotta do is look at a graph to disprove that, or just, look at the price increase that happened under Biden and to understand that.
I think my voice should be heard, but I'm not going to make the decision based on that. I'll be making a decision over the next few weeks. Thank you all very much.
All right, now let's go ahead and step into this whole Venezuela story because it got pretty interesting. So we was able to rescue Maria Corina. We was able to rescue her, get her out of Venezuela because she was out of hiding. She missed getting her Nobel Peace Prize. Everybody was concerned about her, but surprise, surprise, we got some, what was it? I think some U.S. veteran. I'm not sure if he was a Marine or anything like that, but he went in, got her out. IDK, how the hell this man got her out, but he was able to get her out of Venezuela and over here into safety. So we'll see how that works out. But hey, man, shout out to her safety.
We're learning more about a dangerous operation to get Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado safely out of Venezuela.
Hey, and shout out to Toe. She says, Set, you're still in my lines now. When you really go to a country, we are here with open arms, man. When you really go to a country, oh man. Appreciate that, Toe. Sorry, I'm a bit off today. A little bit sick. Look, man, Ohio, bro, we was in the 40s. Now we're in single digits. Like, bro, the weather changes is different over here. But it is what it is, man. You got to live with it. Shout out to my man Daniel Castro. He says they control lib cities and they act like it will magically change. They're making millions while in office and your cities are still shitholes. Literally. But you're voting for them on the guidelines of affordability when they were the ones who made things the most unaffordable under Biden. When the most unaffordable places to live is blue states and blue cities, but you're voting for the same people who make the most unaffordable places to live. Hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. I'm not even going to lie. Trust me, the Dems can't even answer that for themselves.
Where she was in hiding and her way all the way to Oslo in Norway. The operation reportedly involved a boat, secret rendezvous, even disguises. The Venezuelan opposition leader has been in hiding following last year's disputed election. Machado didn't just receive the Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo. She also got to see her children for the first time in more than a year. Machado has promised she will return to Venezuela. Joining me now is Brian Stern. He's the chair and founder of Gray Bull Rescue, involved in this operation, and he joins me now. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
So without revealing what I understand include sensitive methods, Can you give us some sense of how this escape was managed?
This extraction and escape was extremely high threat. Maria is the most famous person in the Western Hemisphere after Nicolas Maduro. So she's a household name, and because of her profile and her signature, every aspect of this operation, from the beginning to the end, was complicated by her signature. We've done Grable Rescue, my team and I, we've done over 800 missions. This is our 800th mission. We've rescued over 8,400 people, but this is the first person that has a Wikipedia page. So while we've done hostages and victims of war crimes and jailbreaks and kidnappings and all kinds of stuff, Maria is a household name, and that made it all the more special, but also the most difficult as well.
I mean, listen, it raises the question, can she get back? Because, I mean, it's one thing to carry off a difficult and dangerous operation once, but can you do it again to fulfill her wish to go home, in effect, to Venezuela?
Heck no. I mean, to be honest with you, she might be. Look, if we don't get Maduro out of power, and like I said, I'm not sure if we honestly can, because the army is actually backing this man up. The general has already came out and said that, look, we're ready to go to war with America. So I'm not sure we can really get her in power, without Maduro leaving, on his own will. Like, not by force. Well, no. Well, we by force, but we scare him out of there, and we don't got to bomb him. We don't got to sit there and put boots on the ground. If we can't get Maduro like that, then I don't think this lady can ever return home.
Maria is known as the Iron Lady, and she absolutely lives up to that name. She is a very, very, very resolute and tough, just tough leader and tough woman. When we were on the boat together, we talked about this, and I begged her not to go back. I've been a fan of Maria for years. I've been on her Twitter for many years. She's a real hero and icon of mine. And to put her back in harm's way, where she may be arrested, killed, tortured, who knows what, I would really prefer. I would really not want to do that. But she like us, she's a leader, and she wants to be there for her people. And I get that, and I understand that. But as someone who respects her, I would beg her not to go, is what I would say.
You said I would beg her not to go either. I'd be like, look, man, just not right. Until that man Maduro's out of power and all of his opposition is out as well, yeah, you might as well just stay here.
You've done hundreds of extractions, rescues, etc. How did this one compare to others you've done in the past?
The mechanics of the operation were none of these things are ever standard, but we've done maritime extractions before. We've done denied area stuff before. We worked behind enemy lines in Russian occupied Ukraine. We worked in Israel. We worked in Gaza and Afghanistan and all these places. So doing boats, doing planes, doing ground movements when high threat, we do this stuff as a matter of course at Grable Rescue. However, because of her face, because of her signature, because the entire Venezuelan intelligence service, the entire Cuban intelligence service, parts of the Russian intelligence service, we're all looking for her for months. And specifically this week in particular, because of the Nobel Prize, made this operation significantly more high risk than we've ever done before. Overwhelmingly, this is the hardest, most high profile, most delicate operation we've conducted.
Wow.
Sure.
I mean, I have to imagine if I'm a Cuban intelligence officer or Russian or Venezuelan intelligence officer right now,
I'll be throwing my hat down like, son of a bitch. Like, what the? Like, we've been looking for her, and all of a sudden she just ends up in America. Now we can't touch her. Like, son of a bitch. I'd be literally throwing my hat down if I was those guys. I'd be like, how the hell did she even get out? Who is this guy? What was it a one-man army? Just one man armied her way out of Venezuela? Like, what? Like, bro, give this guy a movie. Give him a movie, bro.
Who'd been trying to track her. I'm feeling like I got duped here.
I'm sure that's how they feel. And
Hell
I'm sure that I'm happy about that's how they feel. We fight these enemies. We're a veteran-led nonprofit. We're a bunch of just patriots that do the right thing. We're not political. I don't care about political nonsense. We do the right thing for the right people. And Maria Corina Machado, her values and how she thinks and how she fights for her people are completely aligned with our values and why we fight for our people. It's not because she's political. just happens to be a leader. I wouldn't even call her a politician. She's really just a leader. Yes, she won the election and all the things, but she's really a patriot for her people who wants fairness, who wants equality, who wants freedom, who wants democracy. And she's been a hero of mine, as I say, for a very long time. When it was the privilege and honor of my career to be able to rescue a hero, someone who I know, who I feel like I know, and to share a very arduous journey with her through very dangerous waters and very dangerous set of circumstances is an experience that I can't believe actually happened. I can't believe it.
Well, Brian Stern, we appreciate the work you do. Thanks so much for joining. And I imagine you're someone who's good to have on their speed dial if you end up in a situation
Literally
like this.
Like, boy, if you ever in a taken situation, this is your guy. This is the real life Nielsen. It's like, this is the real life Liam Nielsen. Like, this is the real life taken guy. Okay, man. When you get taken, bro, this is the guy they send after you. I mean, he looks like a really jolly, nice guy. Literally wouldn't even look like he'd actually even hurt somebody, but guarantee you, though, man, he probably dropped some people while on the way out. I like it. I like it. Give him a movie, because that's, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, that's pretty cool. Like, you went into Venezuela, a hostile territory, and was able to move out the what was it, the opposition? When we got 3 different organizations looking for her. As you said, we got what was it? Did he say the Colombia? Yeah, I think he said the Colombian intelligence, Russia intelligence, of course, Venezuela. 3 people. And this guy was able to get her out past those guys as they're punching the air, going like, how the F she get into America?
GreatBullRescue.org is our website. You can see us on social media. That's how people help us out. We're donor funded. So if you want to help, please click the donate button. It really goes a long way. That allows us to do these kinds of operations that really change the world. In this case, really change the world for sure.
All right, Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel laureate Maria Corina Machado says that she's ready to step in as vice president when her country undergoes a democratic transition. She's been speaking to reporters in Oslo. Machado was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize this week. She made it to the Norwegian capital after a daring escape from her home country, where she's been in hiding from the Maduro regime. Earlier today, Machado met with the Norwegian royal family, and she greeted supporters as well.
If I remember correctly, Liam did work with him or someone like him for that role. Man, he must have. Like, the bro literally came in on some taking stuff and took her, while multiple intelligence agencies and 2 intelligence agencies and 1 military group was looking for this young lady. I'm a middle-aged lady, so. Yeah, bro, he's cold for that one. I got to give it to this guy. Shout out to our servicemen. Shout out to the servicemen, man. That's pretty damn cool.
CNN's Paul Mosquera joins us live now from Oslo. I understand, Paul, that you actually had an opportunity to ask Machado some questions, especially about...
No, we're going to get into Machado later. She was on Face the Nation. So let's get into Seized oil tankers was supporting terrorist groups. So let's get right into it.
But we're going to move on to this because the Justice Department is revealing that the oil tanker seized off of Venezuela was part of a shadowy oil shipping network supporting terror groups.
Madeline Rivera joining us live from Washington with the details. Hi, Madeline.
Good morning. The Justice Department partially unsealed the seizure warrant for that oil tanker. More than 20 pages of this 32-page document were completely redacted. But here's what we did learn. A federal judge signed off on the seizure warrant on November 26th. The Coast Guard...
Yeah, that's concerning. Hold on. So the seizure warrant had heavy redactions in it?
Of this 32-page document were completely redacted.
All right. Well, that must be intelligence then. That has to be intelligence. Like, so how they figure out where the oil raker, what the oil rig was for, who it was supplying. That's probably what they were, redacting, protecting intelligence sources.
But here's what we did learn. A federal judge signed off on the seizure warrant on November 26th. The Coast Guard seized the tanker off the coast of Venezuela on Wednesday. The DOJ says the vessel, named the Skipper, was being used in an oil shipping network supporting Hezbollah and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The oil shipping network supporting Hezbollah
was formerly called the Asia, is being used in an oil shipping network supporting Hezbollah and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard and Quad Force. Never heard of them. I'll have to look that one up. But Hezbollah. I'm not really too sure about the Hezbollah one because Israel is currently bombing Lebanon and trying to make Hezbollah this huge problem for us. So it is kind of crazy how we're just throwing Hezbollah in there when I've never known Lebanon to even work with Venezuela at all. But Iran, sure. Other countries, I mean, Iran for sure. Like Russia, sure. China for sure. But I kind of just think they're throwing Hezbollah in there.
And the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The administration says it'll go through the legal channels to seize the oil on the tanker once it reaches a U.S. port. NBC News now reporting per 2 U.S. officials, the crew will be released when the vessel docks. The move's designed to exert pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, which the White House has accused of running a narco-terrorist regime. Some lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, though, are sounding the alarm, warning against going to war with Venezuela. Meantime, more details are emerging regarding the dramatic evacuation of the leading Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. She's been in hiding in Venezuela, but was seen on the balcony of her hotel in Oslo, where she received the Nobel Peace Prize. She was nearly lost at sea for 3 hours after a series of mishaps by the contractor sent to help her escape.
Huh? Where was she? Hold on, bro. Go back. She was lost at sea?
Been in hiding in Venezuela, but was seen on the balcony of her hotel in Oslo, where she received the Nobel Peace Prize. She was nearly lost at sea for 3 hours after a series of mishaps by the contractor sent to help her escape.
My blood pressure didn't go down until I saw Maria hugging her daughter in Oslo. Then I took a deep breath. Things can go wrong at any moment. We were in 5 to 10 foot seas. It was very horrible, pitch black at night. Guys are throwing up. It's pretty bad. And she didn't complain once.
You better not.
It was great.
Machado's extraction was carried.
Yeah, I mean, she better not complain. I mean, shoot, you get captured, that's death. If you just hear during having a very, very bad time, and it probably stinks and it's scary, and you don't know where the F you're at, but all you know is that you're in a body of water that you can't really see like that. But it's better than being, tortured and killed by the opposition.
Carried out by a group of former military veterans without the direct knowledge of the U.S. government. Truly the stuff of movies. Charlie, Rachel.
Literally.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thanks, Maddie.
Hey guys, he said he was nervous. It's not just because, hey, we've never extracted a Nobel Peace Prize winner. If anything happened to Maria Corina Machado, the entire opposition group collapses. She is like the Donald Trump of that country in that she's, leading that movement. Nobody else could replace her. Even if Maduro leaves, it would be really hard to bring the new government into operation without the power of this woman. She is really a force of nature.
But I guess it could kind of cut either way. Is it better or worse for Maduro to have her leave the country? And then is she now faced with the challenge of getting back into the country?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of questions around that for sure. One of the things that I asked, and I sometimes, you think of the best questions after your guest leaves. So I'm going to share it with you. I asked him, I said, what does this tell you about the regime in that, do you think that, is it that you were able to pay people off? Was it that, there's sort of like people turning on Maduro? He said, yes, there's definitely a weakening happening there, but he believes that Nicolas Maduro has made the calculation that despite everything, despite all the pressure, that he's probably safer staying there, which is amazing. Here's his reaction, by the way. Watch this.
Don't worry, be happy. La 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 la. Just peace, not war.
Okay.
Peace alone.
I mean, we don't really got to push him out, do we? Do we really got to push him out? Can't we just control this guy, have him in power? Well, according to the Trump administration, of course not, because we can't trust this guy not to act duplicitously, just like he did under the Biden administration, just like he did with this so-called fair election. So, he seems like a nice guy, but trust me, he'll snake you at a moment's notice. And I mean, that's exactly kind of what he did to the United States. We gave him a decent deal. We said, look, bro, we won't try to push you out of power if you can just win an election, a fair election. He stole it. Now we don't trust him to do anything. And now he wants us to trust him to be able to, sit in power while he just gives us everything we want, and we trust him not to do anything shady.
Griff, hard to believe that this is by the way, it's so phony, right? I mean, this guy has imprisoned like 900 political prisoners are in gulags. They've been tortured. But, don't worry, be happy.
Well, nothing says I'm feeling threatened and desperate like revamping a 1990s Bobby Farron song to try and talk to your people in Caracas at a rally. And I think to Charlie's point, Marina Corina Machado, I think has to go back inside of Venezuela because she's continuing to be the glue that's holding that opposition together. And the fact that you now have the administration not just taking out the narco drug boats, but also seizing oil tankers, shutting off a serious revenue stream for the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, that's significant. And that's why he's dancing to Bobby Farron out in the square in Caracas, because he knows ultimately his options are getting fewer and his days are feeling numbered.
It's really great that you bring up that point, because what people need to understand is,
or he just wants peace. Like that could also be, something too. And he doesn't want to take on the United States because who does? Who does? Nobody really wants to take us on. And then here's the thing. Of course, their national pride and sovereignty is going to push them to do so. But even the Venezuelan army knows they're not going to win. And I don't even think the Venezuelan army is all the way united into going to war with America. Because I'll be honest with you, we could win, but I'm be honest, it's going to be a drawn out fight. Like, do not listen to whatever Lindsey Graham is telling you, talking about it's going to be a walk in the park, because it's not. It might actually end up being a whole nother Vietnam for us. So this is one of the reasons I don't want to go into Venezuela, boots on the ground. But if we can get a regime change, bloodless, whatever, that's fine. But no boots on the ground, please.
We go now to Maria Corina Machado, Venezuelan opposition leader who joins us from Norway, where she just received the Nobel Peace Prize. Welcome to Face the Nation.
Thank you very much, Margaret. It's my pleasure.
You face arrest by the Maduro regime. I know you went through extraordinary difficulty just getting out of the country and to Norway.
Okay, she's in Norway.
You said you got support from the United States.
Okay, she's in Norway. Okay, she's not in the United States. She's in Norway, which is kind of cool. All right. That's a safe place.
States government to do so. Can you tell us what type of support?
Actually, I prefer not to give away any details because I do not want to increase the risk.
Well, obviously, CIA helped out a lot. I mean, I'm pretty sure CIA was the one who probably reached out to that guy to come save her. So I'm pretty sure, our intelligence had a hand in this. I mean, think about it. It's already been reported that the CIA is operating in Venezuela. So most of the information that I believe we're getting out of Venezuela is coming from them.
Men and women that helped me to be here. And the regime has been, very cruel against those that in the past have helped other Venezuelans flee the country when they were persecuted. So in this case, I do prefer to protect them as much as possible.
Smart.
I understand that the head of the private rescue organization who said he helped you come out of Venezuela spoke to my CBS colleague Lilia Luciano and said smuggling you out was very high risk because you are so well known. You traveled by land, by sea, by air. He said multiple donors paid for it. Do you know why it was so important to them for you to make it to Norway and receive that prize?
Well, I frankly have no idea. And as I say, I am not going to give more information regarding my trip to Norway. But what am I going to say how important it is for the Venezuelan people. This is a recognition to a nation that has fought tirelessly, courageously against a criminal narco-terrorist structure. And I came to receive that prize, that award, and I'm going to bring it back home to the Venezuelan people as soon as possible.
You say you're going back home. I know you sent your own children out of Venezuelan territory in order to protect them. Your sons, your daughter. I read you hadn't even seen your daughter in 16 months. That's an incredible
and shout out, hold on,
anyone.
This is hilarious.
Are they concerned?
Oh, and shout out to my man Bernard. He sent 67 jewels, 67 jewels. Man, like I said, bro, the generation's going too far with this whole 6-7 stuff, but it is what it is.
Concerned that you plan to return to Venezuela?
appreciate it, man.
When are you going?
Well, of course, they are concerned as any other Venezuelan child that has their parents or relatives back in our country, because the regime, as I said, has persecuted, tortured, killed, disappeared thousands of Venezuelans. And recently it has turned even more violent because, you know, when a criminal regime is falling apart and they know their days are numbered, they turn even more aggressive, even more violent. Just a couple of weeks ago, a 16-year-old girl was kidnapped and taken away to prison just because they were looking for her brother. And since they couldn't find her brother, they took Samantha. So this is the kinds of actions that are currently happening in my country. So yes, my family is concerned, but they know I have said that I will be where I am more useful to our cause. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
You believe it's important to help the cause from inside the country right now. Can you help us understand what is going on? Because we are seeing here in the US an increase in the pressure campaign, more sanctions on Venezuelan individuals and vessels. We saw an armed seizure of a vessel carrying oil out of Venezuela. Selling oil on the black market is really important money for the Maduro regime. Do you endorse this idea of more seizures and possibly even a blockade?
Look, I absolutely support President Trump's strategy, and we, the Venezuelan people, are very grateful to him and to his administration, because I believe he is a champion of freedom in this hemisphere. And that's why, and I say this from Oslo right now, I had dedicated this award to him, because I think that he finally has put Venezuela in where it should be in terms of a priority for the United States national security.
Which it is.
We do.
I mean, actually, which it is. Like I said, Trump put out the new national security document that pretty much states that we will no longer try to be a world power, but a hemispherical power. And we'll leave everybody on the west, or not the western side, but the eastern side of the hemisphere to their own devices. And we make sure we have dominance on our side. AKA, we're kicking out all foreign influence out of South America, and they're going to mainly be working for us. Now, trust me, that's not all it includes, but it also includes us backing out of NATO, pretty much telling Europe, look, we're no longer going to back you guys up to every conflict you want to jump into. So hopefully, you know, us backing out of NATO is going to keep NATO from trying to be so antsy into jumping into a war.
Support these actions because, Margaret, we are facing not a conventional dictatorship. This is a very complex criminal structure that has turned Venezuela into a safe haven of international crime and terrorist activities, starting with Russia, Iran, Cuba, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Colombian guerrilla, the drug cartels operating freely and directed in partnership with Maduro and his regime. And as every criminal structure suffers is when the inflows from their criminal activities are cut. And this, in the case of the Maduro regime, comes from the oil black market, to drug trafficking, gold smuggling, arms smuggling, even human smuggling and trafficking. So that's what we believe. It was so important to apply, law enforcement, and we have been asking this for years. So it's finally happening. That's why I believe the regime has its days numbered.
It sounds like you support more sanctions and possibly more seizures of oil. But isn't there a risk that cutting off money will further hurt the already impoverished people of Venezuela? Isn't that a risk?
Of course, what we're doing is for the well-being of the Venezuelan people. What we want to do is to save lives. But Maduro was the one who declared a war on the Venezuelan people. A war we didn't want, a war we are suffering with hundreds of thousands of killings and forced executions in the last years. And right now, I want to be very clear with the international community. The resources Maduro gets are not going to schools or hospitals. In Venezuela, a teacher earns $1 a day.
Huh?
Pensions are less than one.
Yo, a teacher earns $1 a day, and let's be real, these guys have crazy inflation. I mean, inflation is like over 10,000%. It's over 9,000. Okay, guys, the inflation is literally over 9,000. That's not, and that's I'm not even trying to bring up Dragon Ball Z or anything like that. It is literally over 9,000, over 9,000% inflation. Their money is basically worth nothing, and they live under a socialist type government. So, hey, man. One of the best examples of socialism and what it could do to a country is Venezuela, a once prosperous country that had a capitalist leader. And as soon as they turned to a socialist leader, what happened? Everything fell apart. So, New York City, take notes.
$1 a month. Our children go twice a week to school. The sources, the cash the regime gets from these illegal activities goes to buy arms, to pay gang members, to spy and infiltrate, and to even further increase their illegal narcotics activities and so on. So these resources are not going towards the people, they're going for corruption and crime.
So it sounds like you want even more seizures and a blockade. Is that correct?
Yeah.
We want every legal action through law enforcement.
AKA, she's pretty much saying, look, we need that guy out of here. We pretty much gave this girl a Nobel Peace Prize for going against the Maduro regime. And trust me, in our own country here, we're demonizing this man for going after him. We're talking about, oh, you're blowing up fishermen and all this wild stuff. But here's the thing. Him going after the Maduro regime is, well, actually, it's a good thing. It would help the Venezuelan people. My problem is that, well, I'm a stickler about this, but I don't want to get into a war with Venezuela just because they're having problems with their government. I mean, the people better fix that on their own. And if they need boots on the ground, the American boots on the ground to fix it, then I'm sorry. Well, you guys got to figure out something else because I'm not in support of that. And neither is most of MAGA.
Approach, not only from the United States, also from other Caribbean, Latin American, and European countries that further block the illegal activities of the regime. Why? Because we need to increase the cost of staying in power by force. Once you arrive to that point in which the cost of staying in power is higher than the cost of leaving power, the regime will fall apart. And it's the moment where we, advance into a negotiated transition, which is what in the beginning we offered Maduro when we won the presidential election by landslide last year. But he not only refused that option, but he, as you know, unleashed the worst, most brutal repression.
You know what's funny though? It's funny how Dems never see how socialism turns into tyranny, and then honestly, like turns into hardcore communism. They never really understand that part. I mean, when you practice full-on socialism, you try to be all equal with everybody, there's still those guys at the top that pretty much still hold all the wealth. And now they can make sure that nobody else ever reached their level. And now there's a complete bottlenecking at the top. Barely anybody will ever be able to be a billionaire or millionaire again because of socialism. Everybody gets the same and they'll be dominated by this higher class. Still. So it's kind of funny how socialism kind of works out better for the oligarchies that these Dems want to go against.
Wave we've seen in our history.
And 8 million Venezuelans have fled since he came to power during that time. But in terms of the diplomacy, President Trump spoke with Maduro himself.
And who's going to own the means of production? Who's going to own all that? The government? Because, I mean, you really trust the government to make socialism work for you when we're giving these guys trillions of dollars and they're letting it get defrauded. They're funding wars that we don't agree with. You trust these same guys to take in your taxpayer dollars and give you good socialism. You're hilarious. I just want to let you know, man. God bless your heart.
Last month. We haven't seen any evidence, though, that diplomacy, a negotiated exit, like you mentioned, is happening. Are you seeing diplomatic success?
Well, in the last years, Venezuela has seen 17 dialogue initiatives, not once, not twice, 17. Every single time, the opposition or our allies or the United States have complied with every single thing we offered. The regime and the country has violated every single thing they offered on their own part. What did they get? They got time, they got legitimacy, they got money. And that's precisely what they think they can get again, once again. But certainly things have changed very much in the last months. Venezuela is a total different country. I mean, Maduro is weaker than ever. The armed forces, police are certainly divided and fractured. And
Yeah, I don't know about that, sis, because when you got when you got some of the generals of the army coming out pretty much saying that they're ready for war with America, does that sound like a divided military? Does that sound like a divided armed forces? When, you're still saying that, people are scared for their life because of the police. Does it sound like the police is all that divided? So I'm a bit confused what's really going on here. Like, are the people really against Maduro? Because usually when the people's against Maduro, the army isn't too quick to, step up to their defense. And that's literally what the army did. So I'm not sure what this lady's really talking about is true. Like, I would like it to be true, but the way things are reading on the ground, it's not looking like that.
our country is united, cohesive, and we finally have the administration, in this case, President Trump, with a clear strategy that truly represents.
And shout out to, she says, socialism equals a Trojan horse for communism. Yeah, they don't even understand that. I mean, look, this is exactly what happened with Maduro. Bro turned into a complete dictator through socialism. I hope you know this. Through socialism, through the program or through the economic structure or social structure that you guys want to employ on the U.S. The same one is what pretty much make these dictators. Even Hitler practiced socialism. You know that, right? It's important to me that you know this. He was a socialist, right? Okay.
A credible threat for their regime. So if we had ever have a chance to finally move ahead towards democracy in our country, it's today.
What evidence do you have that the military is weaker than ever? Was your escape proof of that?
Well, first of all, we have the evidence that the white majority of the military want change, and that was we saw that on July 28, 2024, that the military were ordered to expel our electoral witnesses from the polling stations and to deny our right to the original tally sheets. And they disobeyed that order. Even in those polling stations where we know there is a high participation of the military, we won by a landslide. More recently, we've seen more and more members of the military finding ways to connect with us, to send messages, to show that they're feeling the same of what the rest of the country is feeling. When this military go back home, they find their children, their mother, their partners saying that they are hungry, that they are persecuted, that their families have been divided. They are scared. Yes, they are scared because repression and persecution in the military is even tougher than on civilians.
So President Trump said,
all right, then that makes sense. That kind of shows why the army is showing such a strong stance for Maduro. And that makes sense. He's pretty much saying that, trust me, even if people want to speak out in the military, they're kind of forced to comply. And I'm just like, well, then what makes you think that we can just get this guy out of power with an army that's literally going to fight for him? Like, we can't get no bloodless regime change if we got an army that's willing to fight for this guy. So unless we can break up that army, we really can't get you in there without putting boots on the ground, of course.
Land strikes to stop drug trafficking specifically will start soon. He has been saying that for weeks. Do you know what he is talking about? And has he promised you anything?
No, I don't know. And well, if I knew, I wouldn't say it, of course, but it's not the case. We are not involved and we will not get involved into another nation's policy for their own national security.
But would you welcome U.S. military action?
I will welcome more and more pressure so that Maduro understands that he has to go, that his time is over. And I will insist something that I've said several times before. This is not conventional regime change. This cannot be compared to other cases like countries in the Middle East. We had an election. Regime change was already mandated by over 70% of the population. And what we need is support to enforce that decision.
How do you square military action with receiving a peace prize? Are we at the point it's necessary?
What we're fighting for is precisely freedom.
Yeah, but that's the problem, though. See, we can't get involved in your problem, put boots on the ground over your problem because you guys don't have the balls to take this guy out of power. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to call all of Venezuela out on this one. Why are you trying to drag us into this when you guys could, I don't know, uprise against the army? I don't know, like do something, but just depend on the United States to bail you out of a bad idea. Remember, you guys voted for this man. Never forget you voted for this man. I know it was a long time ago, and some of y'all may not even remember it, but you did vote for this man, and he did play you guys on the election. What are y'all gonna do about it? Because I'll tell you, man, if somebody stole our election, we knew it, bro. We're taking to the streets. Like that person will be out of power. I mean, I think even the army might get behind it. So it's kind of surprising, and I'm just wondering where your army stands with this. I'm pretty sure people in the army knows that the election was stolen, and they're still standing behind this man. What does that tell you? That, I mean, yeah, one, you guys were living in a complete dictatorship. The guy wrote in on socialism, but now he showed you the dictator. So I really don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, I don't want to sit there and actually help these guys all the way with their problem, especially if it comes to putting American lives at risk. Like, we'll go ahead and we'll take the oil tankers, we'll go ahead and cut off their money lines. But as far as risking American lives for a problem that you guys voted in, I don't know about that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a dick.
In order to have democracy, and democracy in order to have peace. And in order to maintain freedom and to achieve freedom, you do need strength. The contrary would be the peace of the dead, in which you have a country under absolute, oppression and simply given in. And that's not the case.
So where's the rebel fighters? Like, come on. Like, is there any rebel fighters in Venezuela? Like, that's like fighting anybody we can link up with? Or you just expect us to do all the fighting for you guys? Like, how is this going to work? Like, please give us a better plan than just, oh, please help us and help us get Maduro out. What y'all going to do?
Absolutely.
Because I'm gonna be real with you, if we do all the heavy lifting, man, I don't want to hear nothing if Venezuela is basically a 51st state to us. That's all I gotta say. If we actually go in there, put boots on the ground, lose American lives, and we take Venezuela, man, that's basically a 51st state at that point.
Absurd that you see a regime, a criminal regime like Maduro, that gets support from Russia or from Iran, and then as a Venezuelan people not to ask support from democratic countries. And
I mean, bro, I'm not sure if you're retarded, but like black people's been voting for Republicans. I don't know, probably most likely before you were born. Actually, I'm pretty sure before you were born. Were they black? Yeah, they were. Actually, they were blacker, more respected than you.
Democratic leaders, that's absolute absurd. We do not have arms.
Blacker, more
we have
respected,
our
more money.
will. We have the power of organization and the power of love, which at the end, I have to say that peace is ultimately an act of love.
The regime itself has done a number of things. They have revoked TV licenses for journalists to broadcast truthfully. He has jailed journalists. The United Nations says the National Guard targeted political opponents, committed sexual violence, tortured people, and committed other crimes against humanity. So from where you sit, is Maduro stepping down enough, or do you need the entire regime dismantled? In which case, that sounds like a country in collapse.
That's a very good question, because certainly Maduro is the head of the structure, but it's like any other mafia system. You have families or groups that operate and sometimes even compete among each other. There are different degrees in the crimes they have committed. Certainly those that have committed crimes against humanity that have been reported by the fact-finding missions of the United Nations should face justice. Local justice and international justice. There are other members of the regime or the armed forces that have committed lesser crimes. And certainly we will search for justice, not revenge. But this, I'm going to insist, what we're living right now is chaos. Maduro represents chaos. We're going to put order. And this whole idea, people talking about a risk of a civil war and so on, whoever says that has no idea at all about what Venezuela is. I mean, we are certainly the most cohesive society in the region. I would dare to say perhaps in the world. I mean, Venezuelan society has no religious, social, regional, racial confrontations or tensions. On the contrary, 90% of our population want the same. When the regime to go immediately, and we want to work hard to live with freedom. We want no more socialism, but most of all, we want
no more socialism, but we got people in the United States over here screaming for it. That's the hilarious part. We got a country that literally went through years of socialism, decades at this point, and we have people over here begging for the same thing that they're running from. I mean, I really need you Dems to take notes and read a history book, because actually somebody was in chat said, read a history book. I was like, bro, this is how I know you're uneducated with history, because if you look up almost everybody who practiced socialism, every country who practiced socialism, they got the same result as Venezuela did. They got the same results. So it kind of lets us know when you guys preach for socialism that you haven't picked up a history book whatsoever, or you have this like arrogance that you just think that, oh, well, we weren't doing it hard enough and this is America, so socialism could work out for us, even though it hasn't worked out for any other nation throughout history. Like the arrogance of it.
our children back home.
Understood, but respectfully, you also have acknowledged that the drug cartels are exploiting your country, that Russia is exploiting your country, Iran, Cuba, China. Just yesterday, Vladimir Putin spoke with Maduro and said their strategic partnership is growing. Are you concerned here that Russia is going to shore up support for the military and intelligence?
Well, I'm absolutely convinced that Putin wants the world to think that, especially wants President Trump to think that about that. But I would ask you a question. Do you think Putin has resources to spare at this time, or does he have something that's more urgent for him to invest those resources? I mean,
do we want to F around and find out? Because he already sent 3 nuclear submarines over our way. So apparently, yes, Putin does have a little bit to spare.
Helping a regime that it's going to fall apart anyway, regardless of what he does, I don't think it's a priority for him. Nonetheless, I do not underestimate what the residual actors of Chavismo might be planning to do once we are in a transition to democracy. And that will require very efficient actions to isolate and neutralize those threats. And, you know, we work very hard to understand what's the true nature of our armed forces right now, identifying those military which we believe could be supportive of a transition to democracy and
have they pledged
and a
that
new
to
government.
you?
Some of them, yes. And we believe that over 80% of our armed forces will join and support the democratic movement once the transition is in place.
Bro,
So, tell me
what? That don't even make sense. And why are they doing it now? Like, I'm sorry, that just do not make sense. Like I said, when you got the general of the Venezuelan army coming out saying that they're ready to fight American soldiers, that doesn't sound like 80% of the army is ready to, is ready to turn the leaf. Like, actually, it sounds like 80% of the army will turn the page, but it sounds like 80% of the army is actually ready to fight for Maduro, to keep Maduro in power. Like, a general don't walk up there with just ready to fight America. You don't just walk up there ready to fight America with just 20% of his army willing to fight. So I don't know what the hell she's talking about. She's going like, oh, well, once the regime change happened, then they'll just turn over. It's like, I don't know about that. I'm not sure if the same people that willing to, shed their blood for this man is just going to willingly just, I don't know, turn to the other side. Like, what are we saying?
About that transition.
All of this just seems
we checked,
funny.
and when Secretary Rubio was sworn into office, you were one of the very first phone calls that he made on day 2.
Me and President Edmundo Gonzalez. It was
That's
the two
right.
of us.
That's right. He's deeply interested. So I'm interested in what has been promised to you. If and when Maduro and his regime leave, what kind of support do you need to keep the country together, to prevent another refugee crisis? And do you have that pledge from the American government now?
We will need a lot of support, advice, information, technology, not only from the United States, also from multilateral organizations, some of which we are already working together, not only in security issues, but power supply, food supply? How do we bring, put order in our financial accounts? How do we restructure our debt? How we open markets for international investment and give security to international investment in oil and gas, in infrastructure, critical minerals. I mean, Venezuela is unique in terms of the amount of the natural endowments we have. And, we're located at 3 hours by plane from Florida. So it's hard to think, in this shortening of the supply chains that is in the nearshoring process taking place, a better ally in the region than Venezuela. And at the same time, turning Venezuela from the criminal hub of the Americas into a security shield for the United States and for the rest of the region is a top priority for all. So, we have the plans ready. We have the teams ready. We know what we have to do the first 100 hours and the next 100 days. But most importantly, and I want to insist on this, we have the people. I mean, this is something that I've heard once over and over again. All analysis leave the people on the side when that's the most important force that we have right now. That's why we are where we are right now. And the Venezuelan people want to move ahead. Once we conquer democracy back, it would have has cost us so many lives, so much pain, that you will see the country taking care of it. The people will be the main source of stability. But certainly we look forward to cooperation with our main allies. And of course, our main ally will be the United States of America.
Would that include U.S. peacekeeping troops or other troops on the ground?
I cannot answer that question right now. I don't think that's the case. There are other countries that have offered support as well in order to strengthen democratic institutions once the government-elect is in place. But that we will have to address that once we have the government-elect in place and putting order, bringing order back to our country. And one thing that you mentioned before about the refugee crisis, it's going to be exactly the contrary. The day Maduro goes, you will see tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants coming back home from the United States and all over the world. I mean, our diaspora is desperate to go back to Venezuela. So even from that perspective, it is a win-win situation to have democracy in Venezuela.
Do you think it is safe for those Venezuelans in America to go back there now? Some temporary protected status was just revoked by the president for more than 500,000 Venezuelans here. Is it safe for them?
Absolutely not. It will be safe once Maduro is gone and every single citizen will be, live in freedom and respect towards the law. We will bring back rule of law.
Well, of course she wants this regime change because she won't be the one fighting in it. And she's not the one that's, exerting any resources. Like I said, it just don't seem too likely. Like when she said the whole thing about the army, well, 80% of the army actually wants to go against Maduro. Once he's out of power, 80% of the army will turn. Well, ma'am, that same 80% of the army is right now keeping Maduro in power. If anybody could take Maduro out, it would be the army. It would be the generals. So if there was like a national consensus on we want Maduro gone, then trust me, Maduro would have been gone. But obviously that's not the case. And it's really not the case within the armed forces because, well, they're saying that they're willing to go to war with us for Maduro. So I'm not sure what she's talking about. It doesn't seem like she really knows the reality of what's going on the ground because it seems like Maduro still has a strong hold on power, especially with the army. But all right, though, let's go ahead and get into what's going on in Syria.
2 U.S. soldiers and a civilian interpreter killed in an attack in central Syria earlier today. 3 others were wounded. The Pentagon says they were killed in an ambush by a single ISIS gunman. Syria's national news agency says the group came under fire while on a joint patrol with Syrian forces. CNN correspondent Julia Benbrook is at the White House for us. Julia, what are we hearing from U.S. officials, including the president?
Well, President Donald Trump spoke with reporters here at the White House just over an hour ago now as he left to go to Baltimore. He didn't speak with us for long, but his comments focused in on this attack in Syria. He said that he was mourning the lives lost. That includes two U.S. Army soldiers, as well as one civilian interpreter. There were 3 others wounded. He said he's thinking of them as well and that they are doing well. He called this attack an ambush. He said that it was an ISIS attack both on the United States and on Syria. He promised further action. Take a listen.
We will retaliate. But this was an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we mourn the loss and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones. Very, very sad.
Earlier today, as those American soldiers, and just moments after he made the
Because our army does love Trump, you dumbass. That's actually, yes, that's the truth. Most people in the army, yes, actually do love Trump. Of course, there's people who don't, but trust me, most people in the army love Trump. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't think that, but I mean, isn't it obvious? Like, trust me, a lot of military guys love Trump.
those remarks, he took to social media to reiterate that point. He said that there will, quote, be very serious retaliation. He also said in that post that this attack happened in a dangerous part of Syria, one that they do not fully control, and that the Syrian president was angered by what took place. Now, according to Syria's official national news agency, this attack took place as U.S. soldiers were on a joint patrol with Syrian forces, and that U.S. helicopters intervened to help evacuate the wounded. I also want to pull up a post from Sean Purnell. He is the chief spokesman at the Pentagon. He offered some more details. He said this, quote, "The attack occurred as the soldiers were conducting a key leader engagement. Their mission was in support of ongoing counter-ISIS, counter-terrorism operations in the region. The soldiers' names, as well as identifying information about their units, are being withheld until 24 hours after the next of kin notification. This attack is currently under active investigation."
Damn.
Now, in another post, the Secretary of Defense said that the attacker was killed by partner forces. And he went on to say this, quote, "Let it be known, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you." Trump, as I mentioned, is now in Baltimore. That's for the Army-Navy game. Hegseth is also expected to be in attendance. And then, of course, top military brass will be there as well. Fred.
All right. Julia Benbrook at the White House, thank you so much for that. Let's continue this conversation now with CNN military analyst, Major General Spider Marks. So in your view, you know, what do you think the president and the defense secretary mean when they say there will be a retaliation?
Well, when a leader of a nation makes a declaratory statement like that, you better believe him. But retaliation, in my mind, is not necessarily what they're going to do. What the United States is doing with several Syrian forces in country is they are conducting very aggressive counterterrorism operations, counter-ISIS operations. So I think the interpretation of what the president said, which frankly is pretty blunt, doesn't need much interpretation, is there will be ongoing operations against ISIS. When you look at the details of this particular engagement, a single ISIS fighter ambushed this group very tragically for the group. But the point is that ISIS fighter had direction, was part of a larger organization. That's what the U.S. is there to do.
Yeah, they're trying to say he's part of like a sleeper cell.
Just to rip that organization apart and render it useless.
Right.
So I think it's going to be more of the same. More operations will continue.
Right. So underscore the risks that come with counterterrorism activity like this in a joint operation. That's all we really know about what this is, a joint operation. Maybe you have more details on exactly what it entails.
Yeah, to be precise, it's a coalition operation, which means another nation, portions of the Syrian defensive forces that the United States have been working with for a while, predating the fall of Syria. So this has been an ongoing operation. So there's trust, there's engagement, There's familiarity among the partner forces in this regard. But going after ISIS is always going to be a very difficult task. And so, and we've seen the downside, the very tragic downside of this. And a key leader engagement, as it's been described, these are routine engagements where partner forces will engage with some other partner force, trying to figure out what the next steps might look like. And every time you do that, security is very broad. There's what we call an outer ring and an inner ring of security. But can a single fighter get in? Can somebody ambush that? Very tragically, we've seen that this certainly can happen. But security remains objective number one. And these forces will not, the U.S. and the Syrian forces that they're working with, will not stop doing what they're doing.
Israel has also been targeting ISIS and other terror groups in Syria recently. How much of a threat overall is ISIS right now?
Well, ISIS has been attrited considerably, but they're an ideology. They continue to provide challenges. And the bigger picture now.
Sorry, guys. I was pretty much going over. I was going over what AP News was saying about the shooter, saying that the shooter was a recent recruit in Syrian's international security force and has been reassigned, admin suspicion. So it looks like the shooter was pretty much just taking their last shot to pretty much pull something off because they're about to be reassigned. And like I said, that's why they're saying it was a sleeper cell, because he moved pretty much, I guess, at the right moment before he was going to be caught.
Fred, is that Syria, with a new government in place, a new leader in place who used to be a member of ISIS, saddling up next to the United States, primarily for partnership, and that partnership means a ton of money, he's hoping. But Syria remains ungoverned space, which is analogous to what we saw in Afghanistan pre 9/11, and bad things happen when it's ungoverned. So you can have, if ISIS was allowed to do what it's doing without the constant pressure from the United States and the partnering Syrian forces, we could see things that are much worse than what we're seeing right now. So you maintain the pressure on ISIS, you try to control what you control, you draw lines between what Israel's doing in Syria, what we're doing in Syria. Clearly the Turks are doing things in Syria, so you don't want to have fratricide, but you want to apply pressure to try to achieve some level of stability.
So somebody got to back out of Syria. It's either us, the Turks, or Israel. But somebody needs to back out of Syria. There's too many hands on Syria right now. This is why problems like this is happening. I mean, there's too much interference going on.
The president of the United States had the Syrian president at the White House recently. What will this situation and this joint operation do to that relationship that is still kind of in its infancy?
Yeah, great question. Generally, it's one of two things. It either frays the relationship, right? Or what happens is it brings it closer together. And in the case of al-Shara, the new leader in Syria, previously an ISIS fighter, he and Trump, I think, have gotten off in the right direction. They have a similar azimuth. So I think there will be tightening of this relationship, more resources against trying to eliminate those challenges to the stability that he has to establish in Syria. If anybody's going to take him seriously, he needs to be able to acknowledge, look, I'm in charge. I've got this. I'm making progress. Security needs to be job number one. Otherwise, nobody's going to join Syria. Dollars will not flow into Syria. Look, you've got to plant a flag of security. And if you do that, dollars will flow in and you can start achieving some degree of
we just started lifting sanctions off Syria. We were trying to bring Syria back into the global economy, but if there's still these ISIS attacks, then that's going to be hard to do. And with having, I mean, here's the thing though, maybe it'll be a bit easier for Syria to operate even to have 3 different countries on its on its soil. I mean, Israel could leave. They could leave and we can handle ISIS by ourselves, or we could leave and have Israel handle ISIS. Oh, and then we can have the Turks back off as well. But having all 3 guys in there, and then we got conflicting interest, And for all you know, this ISIS guy could have been working for, I'll be real with you, he could have been working for Israel. He could have been working for Turkey. And I'm gonna be quite honest with you, having all these countries in one place, trying to enforce their own type of influence never works out. It never works out at all. And it does end up breeding situations like this exactly. And then it kind of messes up with the whole vetting process. Because remember, this guy was vetted before he was let into this into this special force, or I forgot actually what it was. What was he a part of? Oh, yes, he was part of the Syrian International Security Force. So, yes, he was vetted before that, and then they started being suspicious of him. And there's my judgment right there as well. I mean, why was it so hard to vet this man, and why didn't you vet him thoroughly to make sure he didn't have any links to ISIS? I mean, what was any of the other countries getting in the way of the vetting process or something? Like, what's going on? I don't know. But when you have multiple countries on dogpiling on one, nothing ever works out right.
Normalcy. All right, Major General James Spidermarks, thank you so much. Great to see you.
And this is one of the main reasons why we're going for hemispherical power and no longer trying to be a world power, because it just doesn't work out for us at all. But all right, now let's go ahead and get into this next one right here.
Welcome back. Let's go back to Lucas Tomlinson at the White House, who has new information for us on the shooting death of 2 American soldiers and 1 U.S. interpreter. Hello, Lucas.
Mike, good afternoon. This is what we know right now. 2 U.S. Army soldiers have been killed. 1 American civilian interpreter have been killed. 3 other U.S. service members have been wounded in an ambush in central Syria, in the city of Palmyra, a former ISIS stronghold. We have confirmation from the Pentagon in a statement. I'll read it for our viewers. It reads, quote, "Today in Palmyra, Syria, 2 United States Army soldiers and 1 civilian U.S. interpreter were killed and 3 were wounded. The attack occurred as the soldiers were conducting a key leader engagement. Their mission was in support of ongoing counter-ISIS, counterterrorism operations in the region. The soldiers' name, as well as their identifying information, will be withheld for 24 hours, subject to next of kin notification." If you have a map of Syria, Mike, you could put on the screen to show our viewers where Palmyra is. It's in central Syria. It's a former ISIS stronghold. A key part of that statement I just read said that the American soldiers were with partnered Syrian forces doing a key leader engagement. That can be a very vulnerable time for any of our viewers who have deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan. No, you're not moving. You're meeting in a building, sometimes out in the open. So security would have been very tight. While the ISIS caliphate has been defeated in President Trump's first term, the U.S. Central Command is saying that the killer of these American soldiers and the interpreter was a, quote, lone ISIS gunman. More evidence that these sleeper cells still exist. Let
me show you this quick little clip about ISIS, because somebody said the quiet part out loud in the chat, and I just want to let you know, bro, trust me, I know. But check out this clip.
ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Who's really behind them? Is it just a coincidence that they've happened to attack absolutely everybody except for Israel?
So ISIS, the best way, that one's just so simple. Like, that's a layup given to us by the Israelis themselves. Israeli secret intelligence services. These are fake Muslims who do not practice anything even remotely close to what the Quran and Islam says. I say this as a Christian. So these people that you have been manipulated into believing are your enemies and confused with ISIS, the head-chopping galore hypocrites who have no Islamic nothing in them, a creation of the Jewish state.
But, you know, I mean, hey, you can go look that up. It's actually been written about. But like I said, you can go feel free to look up that book yourself.
Roughly 900 American troops still on the ground in Syria to keep ISIS defeated. There's also a secondary purpose. For years, Iran used Syria as a forward operating base, transiting weapons from Tehran to Beirut for years. You had Hezbollah, Iranian-backed group inside Lebanon. That's where the weapons were moving to. And so with President Bashar al-Assad now out of Syria, it's about a year ago this weekend, this month, in fact, Mike, have a new president of Syria. As you can see there, the map of Syria, a new president, al-Shara, who just a year ago had a $10 million bounty on his head because of his ties to al-Qaeda. He's somebody the White House wants to work with. In fact, the president of Syria was just at the White House here just a month ago. The point is the U.S. wants to have strong, closer ties to Syria, wants to keep ISIS defeated, wants to keep Iran out of the country. But again, today, tragedy, an ambush in central Syria during this key leader engagement. 2 U.S. Army soldiers killed, 1 American civilian interpreter killed, and 3 other service members wounded, Mike.
We saw a tough reaction from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and obviously
Now, if I could just be quite honest with you, it does seem like America wants to be in there to, maintain influence and, kind of lead the economic path of Syria. Israel, well, I'm be real with you, this looks like a land expansion project. And Turkey, well, I don't really know what the hell they doing in there. Maybe one of you guys can enlighten me. But Israel, well, let's be real. They always find a reason to bomb some Muslim country and to expand into them. And in America, well, we're only there to make sure that they're doing things properly and they're leading themselves down a proper economic path and not towards a jihadist state.
Wait word from the commander-in-chief perhaps later this afternoon on next steps in terms of the operation in Syria, Lucas.
That's right. President Trump will be going to the Army-Navy game in Baltimore later this afternoon. Will probably be our first comments from the commander-in-chief on this tragedy today. We expect him to speak about that while he goes aboard Marine One on the South Lawn here at the White House. The Secretary of War, of course, will also be at the Army-Navy game today. But once again, Mike, a tragedy in Syria today. 2 American soldiers killed, 1 American interpreter killed, and 3 other American service members wounded in Syria today, Mike.
And Lucas, clearly, while the regime has changed in Syria to a friendlier face, obviously there are still dangerous remnants of ISIS throughout Syria, correct?
That's right, Mike. Let's be frank, there's parts of Syria that are ungoverned, they're open and almost lawless. And we're not quite sure who this key leader engagement was with in Palmyra. We just know it was a partnered operation with American soldiers side by side with Syrian forces. And your guest in the last hour, Rebecca Heinrich, was wondering, is there a possible insider threat, insider attack portion? Of course, that's just speculation right now. But clearly, ISIS knew that this meeting was taking place. This lone ISIS gunman, as CENTCOM calls the shooter, he was killed, as we learned from Secretary Hegseth, knew about this key leader engagement in this meeting. And again, for anybody who's deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan knows this is a vulnerable time. There's a cordon, there's security set up, but in a populated area, there are people moving, and it's certainly a vulnerable time for any kind of patrol because you're not moving. You're sitting there. In some cases, you're inside a building or.
But all right, now speaking of, the Middle East and, Middle Eastern people, let's go ahead and get on to the so-called terrorist attack that happened let me see, when did it happen? What was it? The Afghanistan guy who shot the 2 National Guardsmen. Yeah, let's get into some details about him. Because Tulsi Gabbard came on Fox News and they said she dropped some bombshells on the terrorist suspect inside the U.S. So let's get right into it.
18,000 known or suspected terrorists entered the United States during the Biden administration.
So far, NCTC has identified around 18,000 known and suspected terrorists that the Biden administration let come into our country. These are individuals who, under normal circumstances, would never be allowed to enter our country because of their ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda.
Now let's put that number into perspective. 18,000. That is roughly half of the Miami Marlins baseball stadium. It is roughly half of the capacity of Michie Stadium at West Point. And that is roughly half of the Boston Red Sox Stadium. Imagine that, Fenway Park, halfway filled up. That is the number of known or suspected terrorists that entered our country during the Biden administration. That is nothing short of shocking. And the warning signs were there for President Biden every step of the way. Biden's FBI director, Christopher Wray, issued this warning in March of last year.
We are seeing a wide array of very dangerous threats that emanate from the border. There is a particular network that has where some of the overseas facilitators of the smuggling network have ISIS ties that we're very concerned about and that we've been spending an enormous amount of effort with our partners investigating.
And then several outlets, including our network here, reported that ISIS affiliates were at large in America.
In just the last few days, a group of Tajik nationals who investigators tell us have ties to ISIS were taken into custody. The 8 men, all from Tajikistan. So how did they enter the United States in the first place is the question. Sources telling Fox they crossed illegally at the southern border and were, quote, fully vetted. But listen to this, nothing was flagged somehow.
So why did Biden let this happen? Let's bring in the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Director Gabbard, I want to start, and there's a reason I'm going to ask you this question, with what your job is every day at the DNI. I know from my experience in the West Wing, you oversee 18 intelligence entities. Just explain to our viewers what the job is of DNI.
Thank you very much, Kaylee. Well, fundamentally, our job is to make sure that we have intelligence that is objective, that is relevant and timely in its delivery to its various customers, those who are making very important decisions related to the policies, the safety, security, and freedom of our country, foremost amongst them, the President of the United States. When we look at the threats that we face, obviously, we are very focused on making sure that the American people are safe and secure. The president has talked about this over and over and over again. And the reason why President Trump focused on this throughout his campaign and throughout his time here now in his second term in the White House is because he recognized how devastating and dangerous President Biden's open border policies were, how they did not, Biden administration did not take their vetting responsibilities seriously, and ultimately did not at all prioritize making sure that our country, our communities, our families here in the United States could have confidence that they live in a safe, secure place. And so we are working doggedly to carry out President Trump's promise to make America safe again and undo the very devastating and dangerous damage that the Biden administration left behind.
Glad you mentioned the Biden administration. Let's look at Avril Haines. This is your predecessor. And I just was shocked. I went back and I looked, how long was Avril Haines holding the post that you're holding? She served for 4.
And let's be real, this is going to be the biggest stain on the Biden administration is, well, immigration. The fact they let in, had 10 million encounters at the border. Conservative numbers are about 4 to 7 million people that were let in. about 18,000 of them with terrorist links. 300,000 unaccompanied minors that we can't find. So, yeah, that's probably one of the biggest disasters of the Biden administration is the abysmal performance at the border and how he just let everybody in and let the cartel get their way through trafficking drugs and human smuggling. But I mean, hey, though, Trump's the bad guy, though, right? Right. Even though he didn't let in, a whole bunch of terrorists and criminals into our country, but he's the bad guy, though.
Years. You can see here on the screen, 4 years she served. I'm sure when you came in, you were looking at some intelligence she left behind. Over 4 years, she somehow missed that 18,000 known or suspected terrorists were coming into the country. Did they not care? Or did they just miss it?
Well, these are
no. They said it'd be racist to look into it. I'm pretty sure that's what the Dems always say. It's like, hey, look, if it ain't a white person, don't look into it for some crazy reason. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason why she didn't look into it, but what else could be the reason but that they kind of wanted this to happen? It was an administration-wide task to bring in all these illegals. Because you're right, why didn't the Director of National Security get involved, National Intelligence get involved? Because they was in on it. I mean, bro, we even had this man Mayorkas over here pretty much admitting that, yeah, we didn't do good vetting for the immigrants. We didn't really have that many people at the border. And then we try to push this border bill that actually turned out to be a foreign aid bill. But then we try to say the Republicans struck it down because they didn't want to fix the border. No, it's because you guys never wanted to fix the border, but you did want it to continue, foreign funding. So trust me, during the Biden administration, y'all showed us what y'all really cared about, and it wasn't the American people.
some of the things that we are uncovering as we look to answer that very same question ourselves, to get a very honest assessment of where we are as a country and what this domestic threat environment really looks like. And we're finding some very disturbing things on this specific issue about vetting. For example, among that 18,000 number of known or suspected terrorists that we know about who are in our country, my deepest concern is that there are so many more that we are not aware of yet. But of that 18,000 number, 2,000 we know were part of a group of over 100,000 Afghan migrants who came here after President Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. 2,000 Afghan migrants who we know are known or suspected terrorists. We started digging deeper in our National Counterterrorism Center. We've had whistleblowers come forward who were working there at that time, who were conducting the kind of thorough vetting that the American people deserve and expect from our professionals. And they were told, hurry up, don't do the thorough vetting that you normally do, because we have to hurry up and get these people into the United States. What we are seeing right now is the exact result, where we have a direct threat on the lives of the American people. And we have the kind of tragedy that we experienced on Thanksgiving with the shooting, the tragic shooting of our 2 National Guard soldiers, one who obviously lost her life and the other who is still fighting for his life. So when you talk about the lack of care and concern for the safety and security of our country and the American people and our own troops, for that matter, there's a direct correlation to—
Honestly, the immigration problem proved a lot about the Dems. It's not that they really don't care about, one, they showed a lack of care for the safety of their own people. They showed a lack of care for the security, the job security of their own people. And honestly, they just showed a lack of care, honestly, just for, I'm be real with you. I'm just going to say it. They just showed a lack of care of what it is to be a U.S. citizen. Like, let's just be quite honest. Like, here's the thing. Dems will sit here and try to scapegoat on the fact that, oh, well, they're asylum seekers. Oh, they're escaping war-torn countries. But, when they come here illegally, they undermine, American workers when it comes to low-skill or low-wage jobs, or even like just mid-wage jobs, even like your factory, your power plant, or battery factories, or anything like that. So, they undermine us in that regard, right? And then that when we let these guys in, hey, it's not like they walked in and handed in their criminal background. It's not like we ran a criminal background check on them. So we don't know what type of crime they committed in their home country that they're most likely going to commit here. We don't know. And of course, I mean, it's kind of crazy how you were shelling out. Bro, remember, these states were creating programs for these illegals to get healthcare services, food assistance, housing. I mean, bro, that's like the most disrespectful thing you can do to the American citizens, is use their taxpayer money to fund people who's not supposed to be here. And the only reason you want these people here is to fuck with the census. Like, are you serious? While undermining the American people, while putting a burden on our healthcare system and our other social services. It's like the most un-American thing you can literally do.
To, at best, the lackadaisical approach you could say that the Biden administration took. In my view, it is far worse than that they did not care to fulfill the fundamental responsibility that any president of the United States has to ensure the safety, security, and freedom of the American people.
2,000 of those 18,000 came in through that program that brought in Afghan nationals. That's incomprehensible. And you mentioned the human consequence of that. Andrew Wolf, we have his picture here today, that 24-year-old National Guardsman. We have an update here at Fox News that he is breathing on his own. We hear from his doctor.
Okay, that's
he
good.
is standing with the assistance of others. And
hey, let's go. My man lived. That's miracles. Let's go.
Parents say that this is a miracle, Tulsi. So yes, there is a human cost. We lost.
No, literally, bro. This man got shot in the head. Shot in the head. I thought this man was going to die, to be quite honest with you.
Sarah Beckstrom.
Yeah, this is something that we are grateful every time we hear good news about what Andrew is doing. Of course, our job is to try to use our intelligence capabilities, working very closely with the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI and our other partners to try to prevent these kinds of attacks. So we are working on vetting all of those who were led into our country, both with the disastrous Afghan withdrawal, as well as others who we know have been led into our country without proper vetting, but also working to make sure we can try to prevent these kinds of domestic terror attacks from happening that are being orchestrated and planned and led or influenced by terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who in different parts of the world are continuing to try to plot against us.
Yeah.
You remember recently in Michigan, we worked closely with the FBI on preventing a planned terrorist attack that was going to occur around Halloween. That's a good news story. We are working around the clock to try to continue to prevent these kinds of attacks from happening in our country.
We're glad to know you're on it. And we just have a few moments here, but the Army-Navy game is today. You, of course, were in the Army Reserves. You went to this game with President Trump last year. We have some footage there of you in the box with him, J.D. Vance, as well. Will you be watching this game today, Director Gabbard?
I will be. I'll be headed out there shortly. I'm still in the Army Reserve, so I will definitely be rooting for my home team in the Army. I've got family members who serve in the Navy as well, so it's always a good time with some good, friendly, and healthy rivalry. And
all right, now let's get back over to CNN. Trump blames Biden, Dems, Fed chair, and immigrants for economic woes. Let's get right into it. Because I mean, come on now, you can definitely blame immigrants, and you can definitely blame Biden for that 20% price increase. I always do like, before we get into this video though, please look at this chart and tell me, you're really going to sit here and tell me that, oh, it's all Trump's fault. Now, do I remind you that this is Biden's term and this is Trump's term? Remember, so the blue line's Biden, orange line Trump. What do you see? Overall CPI, consumer price index, increased 20%. Groceries over 20%. Housing over 20%. The only thing this man Biden didn't raise, like I said, is medical care. So when you guys sit here and try to say that, oh, the prices is because of Trump, well, you're wrong. Because according to the consumer price index, prices have been going up by 0.3 to 0.4%. And trust me, that ain't what the tariff rate is. So you can't say it's because of tariffs. The prices are up mainly because of the 20% increase that was happening over Biden over the past 4 years. I mean, did you forget about that? The rapid price increase, the rapid inflation that we was going under those 4 years? Or y'all just want to play dumb? Because it's cool if y'all want to play dumb. I mean, we could just end the conversation there and I'll never bring it up again. I'll be like, all right, cool. Oh man, someone asked a really good question. How do we get rid of higher prices? We don't. The problem is, and I'm gonna tell you this right now, and this is what a lot of people or the Dems will never explain to you. That 20% increase, it doesn't go anywhere. That price stays there. Like it may fluctuate a little bit, but that 20% increase in pricing goes nowhere. How you beat inflation is by increasing wages, is having wages outpace inflation. That's how you beat it. Now you lower inflation so the inflation doesn't keep accelerating the price, because at 9% inflation, the wages weren't able to keep up with 9% inflation. So we had guys, I mean, like, bro, let's just say that back under Trump, but in his first term, when inflation was like what, at 1 or 2%, prices were still ticking up because there's inflation, but people were going from making $15 to $20 an hour, $20 an hour to $25 an hour. Everybody was seeing like a $5 to $7 increase in their earnings under that time. That's why Trump's first term was such a success, because wages outpaced inflation. Not under Biden. It's really hard to make wages outpace inflation at a 9% inflation rate. And then even when you're ticking down from that, and it took a while for this man to get to 3. It took to the end of 2024 for this man to get to 3. Remember that, the 3%. So we was dealing with all that price increase, all that loss in buying power under them. And we're just now getting it back. If we lost about $3,000, we lost about $3,000 in buying power. And like I said, we only got about 1,200 of it back. But they expect Trump to fix that within what? 1 year of a 4-year catastrophe. But it's all Trump's fault, though, like they like to say, without providing no real numbers. And if they provide the numbers, then they actually realize that, oh, wow, all the price increasing happened under Biden. Actually, majority of it happened under Biden. But all right, let's get to it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Casey Hunt. Welcome to the Arena Saturday. It is day 327 of Donald Trump's second term. And just like basically every commander-in-chief before him, James Carville's words apply here too. It's the economy, stupid. This week, the president began a public campaign-like push around his policies and the issue of affordability. And what we're seeing is a presidential blame game with more finger pointing than pointing to a fix.
The Democrats caused the affordability problem. Jerome, too late. He's too late with his interest rates for a reason. He's a bad guy. When Biden and congressional Democrats had power, they blew up our economy, sent prices soaring. Their entire agenda
Which is true.
about robbing.
Which is true. Like, bro, if you look at energy prices, soared under Biden. Gas prices, bro, we was paying $5 to $6 gas in Ohio, of all places. In Ohio, on the east side. That's ridiculous. Like, okay, in California, for sure, go ahead, whatever. Places like New York, New Jersey, I get it. But in countries, in red states across America, where the average was about $5 at a time, during the summer, it was peaking $6. You can't sit there and just tell us that, oh, yeah, all of that price increase is gone now because Biden's out of office. No, it's not. It's still there. The price increase on groceries, still there. The price increase on cars, like, bro, even on the rate of electricity, it's still there. But this is what Biden didn't even think about doing, helping raise wages. Instead, he just kept, well, spending a whole lot of money. Inflationary Reduction Act, SAVE Act, all that good stuff. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that it didn't do good things for the American people. But the problem is there was a whole lot of spending that the American people wasn't really privy to. And if you'd have told the American people that we're about to add all this money to the money supply and we're about to deal with all this inflation, they'd have told you, yeah, we don't need the SAVE Act. We don't need the Inflationary Reduction Act if we're about to deal with a rapid price increase down the line. And there's a lot of people want to say, well, the SAVE Act brought children out of poverty. Yeah, and it sent those same children right back into poverty once the inflation caught up.
Working people to fund their far left cronies and give lavish benefits to foreign migrants and illegal aliens. The Democrats created the worst crisis of inflation that this country has ever had.
All right, my panel's here in the arena. New York Times journalist, CNN contributor Lulu Garcia-Navarro, editor of The Dispatch, also CNN political commentator Jonah Goldberg, former Biden White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield, former Trump campaign advisor David Urban. They're also both CNN political commentators. Welcome to all of you. It's wonderful to have you here on the inaugural edition of the Arena Saturday. David Urban, you have worked in and around Donald Trump's orbit for a long time now. And he's often succeeded at convincing people, especially his supporters, to blame somebody else, to blame not him. It doesn't seem to be working this time. Why?
Yeah, listen, I think.
Well, I'm be quite honest with you because the Dems, y'all run a masterful spin on this one. You're literally trying to blame Trump for the well, let's be real, almost about a year he's been in office for the 4-year affordability crisis that the Dems created. Just like the healthcare crisis that you guys created, like with the Inflationary Reduction Act, you put in those healthcare subsidies and to expire in 2025, which they knew that was going to increase insurance premiums. They knew insurance premiums were going to double, and they set those to expire. Yeah, the people who accept the ACA subsidy to expire at the end of the year for a political reason was the Dems. So the healthcare crisis they're complaining about, their fault. The affordability crisis when it comes to healthcare, Obamacare, their fault. The affordability crisis of prices that increase today, the price that you're paying today, their fault. But they're able to spin it on Trump because he's been in office for about 11 months. So it may not be fair, but I can see where people can easily fall for this. But if you actually showed them the charts and showed them the numbers of affordability and where prices actually went up, they would be able to see oh wow, yeah, all this price increase went up under Biden, but we're blaming Trump for what? 1 year in, when this man, we literally saw skyrocketing prices year over year, deficit year over year under this man, and we're wondering why we had crazy inflation and high prices. I mean, like I said, bro, some Dems, they don't want to make it make sense. Okay, guys, they don't want to see the truth. And that's fine because, like I said, it's way easier just to blame Trump instead of actually look this stuff up.
This time, people feel it in their pocketbooks. It's much more real. It's much more tangible, the affordability issue. I think the president wants to change the dialogue, the discussion, and not talk about affordability, but really kind of frame this on an inflation kind of debate, right? So inflation has gone way down in the Trump administration. I think he's very frustrated. We keep talking about prices as opposed to the amount of inflation he's reduced. And I think that's what he's talking about. This, like, we're not going to call it a hoax anymore. We're going to call it a scam. I think if the debate got changed to be
no, the hoax is that you guys are trying to say that all the prices today are Trump's fault. That's the hoax. That's the hoax that Trump is talking about. Like, he's not trying to sit there and say that, yo, affordability is not a problem. The hoax is that you guys are blaming all price increases on him when all the biggest price increases were under you guys. So when you guys sit there disingenuously blame Trump for the prices of today, yes, that's a hoax because that was all under you guys. Like the price increases, like, bro, 90% of the price increase you're dealing with today, 90% of the unaffordability you're dealing with today is because of the Biden administration. You know what? If I got to go ahead and like sit here and expose this with this guy right here, shout out to my man at Don't Walk, Run Production. We're going to go ahead and take a quick 8 minutes to address it.
This is Harry Enton, the chief data analyst at CNN. Recently, Harry appeared in the following segment about the economy.
CNN's Harry Enton is running the numbers on the state of inflation and the state of how people feel about it. I mean, how do Americans feel about inflation, how it's impacting their lives? Right?
They think prices are rising, and it's across different. Look at this. I mean, just your costs are up versus a year ago. Groceries, 85%, utilities, 78%, healthcare, 67%.
Overly misleading. See, and this is where the Dems are going like, oh, that's where tariffs are adding on to the cost because things are up 8. Nope. No, groceries are not up 85%. Now, trust me, but he's about to get into that.
Housing, 66%. Gasoline, 54%.
Now, the way this was presented, whether it was on purpose or not, is that Americans think that their grocery prices are 85% higher, their utilities 78% higher.
And I'm sorry, but if you actually buy groceries, you knew that was a lie. If you actually buy groceries for your house and you heard this man Etten say that, you was like, bro, no way. Like, yeah, bro, sure, grocery prices are up, but not 85%, bro.
And so on. But for clarity, registered voters were asked questions like, compared to a year ago, have your costs for certain items increased, decreased, or stayed about the same? 60% said groceries have increased a lot. 25% say they have increased a little. But again, the way this was presented was confusing. Even misinformation artist Aaron Rupar got fooled and posted the video claiming that grocery prices were going up 85%. After being called out on it, he deleted the original tweet and clarified that the numbers Harry Enton was citing came from a poll about how Americans feel. Now, what stuck out to me about the Fox News poll...
Yeah, how Americans feel, not what the actual increase in prices. But, hey, man, shout out to CNN. You see how they like to spin it?
Was the high percentage of respondents who feel that gasoline prices are higher compared to a year ago. And that is very strange, considering that when compared to a year ago, the national average price for a gallon of regular gasoline is slightly lower. And looking at all 50 states, only these 4 have higher prices compared to last year.
Which is hilarious, though, by the way, because what was it? California, blue. Nevada actually went red this year. Arizona actually went red, but Vermont is blue. But usually these are all blue states. It's kind of funny. Like I said, though, it'd be the blue states that be the most unaffordable places to live. But then people are going to vote for Dems on affordability. It's like, really? We're the most unaffordable places in America. Blue cities and blue states. So you guys voting for Dems on affordability is absolutely hilarious.
These 4 have higher prices compared to last year. In California, gas prices are higher in part because of a recent gas tax increase and required carbon reduction targets for fuel suppliers, which adds another 5 to 8 cents per gallon.
Oh, man, and shout out to my man, sis, man, not really sure, Adrian or Adriana, sent a hot cocoa for 600 joules. Appreciate the support. I could actually use a real hot cocoa right now, not gonna lie.
In compliance costs. Plus, in the last few years, California has closed several refineries, which has tightened supply. Gas prices have not dropped in Nevada and Arizona because they are tied to California's supply. So, hang on. If gas prices are lower in 46 out of 50 states, then why do a majority of Americans feel like they're higher? Well, maybe because questions about costs were shoehorned into a political poll.
Yep.
Questions like, do you approve or disapprove of the job Donald Trump is doing as president? Do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling the economy? Do you think Donald Trump cares about people like you or not? And of course, asking for one's opinion on Donald Trump is going to set the tone for one's answers on general questions about the economy. On a scale of excellent, good, only fair, and poor, how would you
And just to lean into my point about how Dems create kind of like the most unaffordable places to live, yo, shout out to this website, mylifeelsewhere.com. Please get it. This is a pretty fun site, guys. You can pretty much compare cost of living from state to state, from between states, between cities, even between countries. So just for funsies, I just did this right here, Ohio, where I'm stationed at. Shout out to my people in Ohio, and then New York, where my dad is stationed at. So shout out to my New Yorkers. Now, as you know, New York is obviously a more expensive country. Well, not country, state. State. Sorry, guys. It's obviously a more expensive state. So this is what I mean by, yo, you Dems create pretty unaffordable places. Because when I'm pretty much paying a 26% difference in groceries, I'm paying 26% less in groceries than as somebody in New York. That should say a lot. That should say a lot right there. I mean, we can go to other blue states and try to go down the line. Man, shoot, let's see if we can even go to Virginia, since they just had their place right there. Even Virginia, another blue state, more expensive than Ohio. And didn't they just vote in somebody on affordability? Isn't that funny? Like, you know, like you got this red state of Ohio over here. They had the chance to vote for a Republican, but they voted for a Democrat who usually these guys aren't too good on affordability. I mean, Virginia is 23% more expensive than the red state of Ohio. And they just voted for a Democratic governor. So good luck on that, because as of now, I pay 30% less in groceries than you guys in Virginia. I mean, you pay about 2.1% less in transportation, but you're also paying 30% more in housing. You pay 50% more in childcare. You pay 22% more in entertainment and sports, 13% more in clothing. But you went down the Democrat route, though, and talk about, oh, they're going to help us with affordability. Oh, man. Like I said, bro, God bless y'all hearts, man. God bless y'all.
Rate your personal financial situation. On a scale of excellent, good, only fair, and poor, how would you rate economic conditions today? So if you previously told the survey taker that you disapprove of President Trump's handling of the economy and that you have an unfavorable opinion of him, you're less likely to say, I rate the economy and my personal situation as good. And just look at the crosstabs. 65% of Kamala Harris voters say gas prices have increased, compared to 46% of Trump voters who say prices have decreased. Makes sense to me. What's your problem? And so Harry Enton, chief data analyst, didn't actually analyze the data. He just read the top line summary. Think about it. Why would so many people think that gas prices are higher than they were a year ago when it's not true? How much energy would it have taken to point that out? I mean, I was able to do it, and I'm not a multi-billion-dollar news organization.
Literally.
Next, Senator Amy Klobuchar posted this graph on X and wrote, under President Trump, electricity prices are surging, up 11%.
And you know what? Thank you, Amy. I really love people like Amy, because you like to call them useful idiots. Because thank you, Amy. Thank you for showing that let me see here if I can zoom in on this. Thank you for showing us that, in 2022, under Biden, we've seen some of the craziest insurging in prices when it came to electricity. So wait, Biden. So all these 3 years under Biden, and then let's just go all the way up here, right? We're just going to blame all this on Trump, right? We're just going to blame all this on Trump. I just want to let you know that Trump is only responsible for maybe 10% of this graph. This is Trump. This small little corner over here is what Trump's responsible for. Everything over here is under Biden. It's almost hilarious how they try to pull this off.
Leaving millions behind on their utility bills with past due balances at an all-time high. American families deserve better. Well, first of all, electricity prices are generally linked to local utility operations and state policies. For example, according to the Washington Post, in Texas, costs have risen 5.2%, while New Jersey's have risen by a whopping 26.
But Dems are good on affordability, though. Really. Went up by 5. A red state, blue state went up by 26%. 26%. But, you know, they're good on affordability, though, right? I mean, good luck, bro. Good luck out there. Virginia, if things get more unaffordable for you guys, don't complain, because the fact you voted on a Democrat, the guys who run the most expensive cities, the most unaffordable places, unaffordable states, you guys kind of deserve this.
0.8%. Again, how well a state is governed can make all the difference.
Bro, I was waiting for a comment like yours, dog. I was literally waiting for this comment. Thank you so much. You honestly made my day while posting this comment. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's kind of funny how I found this right here. How look at this, dog. This is you, bro. This is literally you. Lefties, you're a bootlicker. Off though, lefties. Hey, yeah, why? Yes, I did kiss the sneakers of Jasmine for us. Yes, Jasmine Crockett. And I do worship the ground she walks on. And she was lovely about it. What's she doing? Hey, bro, did this your people? Is that your lady? Is that your favorite? Is that your lefty? Ah! Boy, but we're the bootlickers, though, right? But y'all on her knees right now. Made a post about it saying, you damn right I went down there and kissed those boots. You damn right. Oh, man, it looked like there were some suspensive sneakers, too. But who's the bootlicker? Are you sure, bro? Because I don't see nobody doing this for Trump. Are you sure, cuz? You sure you've been looking at your side correctly? Because that's an awful lot of bootlicking right there. All right, guys. I digress. I'm sorry, bro. I was waiting for somebody to say that, though, just to make him look stupid.
Anyway, that graph that Senator Klobuchar posted came from a Washington Post article showing an analysis by the Century Foundation, a progressive left think tank, claiming that the average past due utility balance for the
And shout out to Tove. Appreciate the support. So he's like, not exactly wrong calling NY another country right now. All right. Yeah, because it's Oron. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, Zoran can actually help out in New York. But I do like to remind the people of America, especially those who voted in that election and, you know, for the governor of New Jersey and Virginia. I'm speaking to you guys right now. You guys have literally voted for the group, the party that made things the most unaffordable for Americans. You voted for the party that run the most expensive cities and states. And you voted for these guys on the basis of affordability. I just want to let you guys know that you are cooked.
The second quarter of 2025 was at $789, a $31 increase since the fourth quarter of 2024. But what the graph also shows is that from the first quarter of 2022 to the fourth quarter of 2024, the average past due balance increased from $597 to $758. In other words, the graph shows that Americans' difficulty with paying utility bills grew exponentially under Joe Biden's term in office. But great job, Senator Klobuchar.
Yeah, I know. It's Trump's fault, though, right? It's Trump's fault. You know, like I said, 90% of this 90% of this graph is literally Biden's fault. The small little 10% over here, this is Trump. And then here's the thing. If you do this like across the board when it came to price increasing on housing, groceries, you're going to see the same thing, guys. I promise you. You're going to see the same upwards tick skyrocketing in pricing across the board. If you do this for any other category under Biden, not just past due utility bills. Like, I promise you, this is way deeper than that.
You're doing God's work. Then Elizabeth Warren posted, Trump's tariffs are making your Thanksgiving more expensive, along with a graphic claiming that prices for the classic Thanksgiving staple known as elbow pasta is up by 13%. Now, the source of that graphic is progressive left think tanks, the Century Foundation, and the Groundwork Collaborative. And surprise, surprise.
Wrong, my friend, because you guys also have higher crime. I mean, here's the thing, though. The worst, let's be real, the most highest crime places in America are blue cities. And then you guys want to talk about red states, but the most highest crime places in those red states are blue cities. And guess what? My state's actually a really good example of Ohio. Want me to tell you where the most highest crime place in Ohio is? Cleveland, Ohio. Who's that ran by? Dems. Second place, Columbus, Ohio, where I ran by Dems. Cincinnati, Ohio. Who's that ran by? Dems. So, yeah, buddy, you might want to walk that back a little bit.
Guys, they're being dishonest. The source of the graphic is, again, the Century Foundation. I need to point out that they aren't talking about the price of elbow pasta in general.
Actually, I want you guys to do an experiment, because this is going to debunk that whole red state have high crime lies. Look up these red states that have high crime and look up the highest crime cities. And each and every one of them is going to be a blue city. So yes, it's the blue cities that cause the high crime in red states. Like, it's about as simple as that. I mean, no, bro, you can literally put this to any red state you bring up. It's the blue cities that pretty much have all of the crime. I mean, Tennessee, Memphis, right there. It's about as easy as that.
They listed the Cecco elbow pasta, which is made in Italy. Of course, there are other brands like Ronzoni or Barilla, which manufacture their elbow pasta right here in the United States and aren't affected by Trump's tariffs. And what about the claim that the price of fresh turkey is 36% higher because of tariffs? According to the Century Foundation, Trump's tariffs have driven up the cost of feed, and avian flu has further thinned an already shrinking flock, now at its lowest level in 4 decades, squeezing American farmers and consumers alike. Also contributing to the 40-year low in supply is the avian metapneumovirus, which causes turkeys to lay fewer eggs. But sure, it's the tariffs. And the Century Foundation's report contradicts itself. First, they claim that shoppers can't escape rising poultry prices, but then admit that frozen turkey prices are essentially the same as they were last year. Yeah, look, you could take the word of the sponsors of this report to progressive think tanks and the American Federation of Teachers for some reason. Or you could look at data from the American Farm Bureau Federation. According to their 40th annual Thanksgiving dinner survey, the cost of a typical Thanksgiving dinner is down 5% compared to 2024. And with that said, 6 of the 12 items on the list are down this year, including the cost of a 16-pound turkey. Yep. So the good news is that prices have fallen compared to Thanksgivings under the Brandon administration. But the question is, do you remember the Century Foundation or other left-wing organizations spitting out reports about rising costs, or Elizabeth Warren tweeting?
It's crazy when you gotta sit there and lie to the American people and say that, because this foreign pasta is more expensive than the pasta that we make here in the United States, prices are up, as if the American people don't have the option to buy, homemade products. Well, not homemade products, but made in USA products. But all right, though, let's get back to the spin of CNN on affordability.
We're doing much better on inflation. You'd be happier. But listen, you can't tell people that when they take money out of their pocket, there's less money in there than there was a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. They know. Okay, you can't tell people that what is real is not real. And so I think this administration, they're gonna be doing it. They did it last week. They'll do it next week. They're gonna roll people out. They're gonna talk about issues, things that they're doing to try to address this. They understand it's an issue, and they're gonna try to attack it head on. They're gonna, talk about gas prices, food prices, and the things they're doing. Try to attack it. And I think that's what they need to do. They need to kind of change the page, change the message.
David,
all right, I agree with him on that one. They do need to switch to the what's going on with affordability instead of focusing what's going on with foreign or geopolitical problems, like what's going on in Venezuela, Israel, Iran. Like, look, we need to focus on Well, domestic policies. And I will agree with anybody who preaches that. Like I said, I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene when he said the president needs to park Air Force One, like wherever they park it at, and focus on domestic policies, which is pretty good. I like that. Shout out to parabolic curvatures. Like, how about we look at taxing the top 2% by 10% more, plus half of our military budget for 10 years? We could cut the deficit by about 5 to 6 trillion. And shout out parabolic curvature, because you know what? You're actually cooking with that. Like, honestly, you are. Now, cutting the military budget, we can do that for sure. Taxing the top 2% about 10% more. I'd have to run the numbers on that, to be quite honest. Because a lot of people like say, oh, they could pay it. But here's the thing. I would be okay with charging them 10% more if we cut back regulations and we actually brought down certain taxes on them. Because to be quite honest, though, we need these guys to create jobs. We need these guys to be able to create jobs, ready to build factories and all that. So if taxing them and putting all these regulations on them is going to hinder that, then I'm gonna be real with you. We're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. So we can't have it both ways, bro. We really can't. We can't have all the taxes in the world while also trying to increase wages for the people. We got to pick one here. Is either we help make these companies work for the people or the government. We got to pick. So as much as I want to sit here and be like, yeah, send more money to the government, I also want to be like, yeah, but we really want them to reinvest their money instead of sending it to the government who misuses it. That's where I stand. If I can get a promise that, oh yeah, we're gonna make sure that people are gonna get paid while also and making sure that these guys are able to reinvest and grow their businesses, then sure, I'm all for taxing them more. And like if we can ensure that, but it does seem like taxing and putting regulations on them get in the way of that, and that's what causes them to go overseas. That's why manufacturing just got gutted, because of our obsessing taxing the rich plan, because they really don't work, to be quite honest with you. And let's be real, parabolic. You say to tax the rich, but who's to say they're not going to pass the cost down to you? I mean, that's what you guys said with tariffs. And it seems like anytime we try, well, not you, but that's what them say about tariffs. And every time we seem to tax the rich, or Donald Trump wants to tax the rich, they talking about it gets passed down to us. It gets passed down to us. Well, raising the corporate tax could have got passed down to you guys. Raising income tax have got passed down to you guys. So where's your argument there? So anytime we tax the rich, it's just going to get passed down to us. And if that's your argument, then I'm be real with you. Y'all should just be for cutting taxes all together. But instead, you're still wanting to tax the rich. I'm just
president. I mean, that was good.
I feel your pain.
Kate, you learned this the hard way, working for President Biden.
And you know, yeah, they do actually. They can't afford to. That's what the problem is. People say that's not true. The companies don't want to, but they do want to pay higher salaries. They can't afford to. You don't even understand how we actually shoot our companies in the foot. No, it's us. It's us. The reason why they can't have higher salaries, the reason why they can't build more factories and all that is not because of corporate greed all the time. It's mainly because of our regulations that these guys have to go outside the United States just to survive. You know, we're going to get into it. This is how you solve the housing affordability crisis. It's going to lean more into my point of what I was talking about. But shout out to Steven Crowder. But shout out to my man Parabolic Curvature. He says Mark Cuban said he would pay it. Yeah, but that's Mark Cuban, though. Mark Cuban's industry is different than all the other guys' industry. So we just can't say, oh, Mark Cuban is the blueprint for all billionaires and all multimillionaires. That would be unfair. Like his situation is way different to the next billionaire situation, especially when they're in different industries. So we just can't sit there and just say Mark Cuban just a blueprint for all of them. I would love to sit there and say that, hey, that would be nice if we could sit there and just make Mark Cuban the blueprint if he can afford in all of them. Okay, but if we do that, like I said, we could risk outsourcing more jobs, stopping manufacturing progression. That's the problem with taxing the rich. When you sit here and tax the guys who are actually giving us the jobs and the opportunities, when you tax them like that and they're giving money to who? The government? They use it for what? To sometimes subsidize other corporations, to sometimes misuse it to send it out to foreign countries or fraudulent reasons. And the only time it really is used for good is for our healthcare system and Social Security. Like, I don't know, dog. I just don't know about that. But let's go ahead and get into the video about Steven Crowder. That proves my point that I'm gonna be real with you. It's us. We shoot ourselves in the foot, and it's going to make you mad because you're going to want to look at the United States and be like, why do we not allow these businesses to prosper? And of course, you can look to the tree huggers as well, because they'll sit there and say, well, we need the national forest. So what we do, but it's not that bad. We don't need to take out an entire national forest to have some type of rare earth mineral production or to increase manufacturing. We don't. But we do need to cut back on some of these EPA regulations.
Homeownership feels increasingly out of reach for many American families. Home buyers need an annual income of roughly $113,000 to afford a median-priced house.
Buying a home for the first time has never been and should never be easy, but it absolutely should be easier. And there are ways that we can do that. The affordability crisis for first-time home buyers. I'm going to explain why it's a problem. There are more factors contributing to it than either side of the current argument is giving credence.
Yep.
And I want to lay out a 6-point plan, a solution. And you can let me know if you think I've missed anything or if you disagree with any of my proposed solutions here. So let's set this up first. There's been a gap between home prices and incomes, and that's been growing since the early 2000s. I mean, it's well documented.
The barriers to buying a home in the U.S. are getting higher.
Homeownership feels increasingly out of reach for many American families.
In the old pyramid of the American dream, owning a home sat at the very top. Years of runaway costs, turbocharged by a rogue Wall Street and a
and that's the thing. A lot of people don't understand that. And here's the thing: a lot of people aren't businessmen, or they're not business minded, and they don't understand the cost of everything. Like when bro says, "Oh, we need to tax the rich an extra 8% or so." I'm like, well, what? On top of their federal tax, property tax, labor tax. Like, we're just adding more on top of them that they got to deal with. And I mean, let's be real, it's not really fair. Like, and we want them to work for us, but we're working against them. So it's like we sit there and we say, oh, just raise a tax on them, but we're forgetting about the multiple other taxes that they pay already and how they pay more taxes than most of you will ever pay in your lifetime. So they're putting into the system that more than you will ever put into your lifetime. And you're telling them to put in more. I mean, how ungrateful is that?
distorted housing market have priced working families out of the American dream entirely.
New data shows a growing portion of the U.S. is becoming unaffordable for people looking to buy a home.
More than 75% of homes across the U.S. are unaffordable as the gap between wages and home prices widens.
Home buyers need an annual income of roughly $113,000 to afford a median-priced house.
Now, I can already see the comment section breaking out into the war that it always does. Okay? You'll have one group saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And the other side saying, okay, boomer, you don't know what it's like. That's what's going to take place. Here's my position. And I'm going to make what I would argue is a pretty airtight case. Buying a home for the first time.
No, because both sides actually make good arguments. Because I was watching PBD, that man, Daniel Penna, multi-billionaire and all this good stuff, known for being a complete hard ass. I think y'all know what I'm talking about. But old man be cussing the hell out of, be cussing like people out because they be having this little weak mindset. Oh, I don't want to work today. Like, you freaking pussy. That old guy. Yeah, he was on PBD pretty much saying the same thing. Like, yo, a lot of these guys are just soft. They can't find a job because they're not going to call 100 people. And a lot of people, they'll go to an interview and don't even call and check back on how they did. And I was like, yeah, that's a lot of people. Like, if you go to an interview and you just leave, you expect them to call you. You don't call them and be like, hey, yo, just checking up on that real quick. Let them know that you actually want it. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. You're right. He's right. You're not really trying. And there's a lot of people in this generation that is exactly like that, is just too lazy to actually fucking try. And they just want shit handed to them. And then there's the other side of the argument that's, well, let's be real. If things for the boom was a whole lot cheaper, easier, wages actually paid for everything that you needed. So honestly, there's good arguments on both sides.
Has never been and should never be easy, but it absolutely should be.
And I would dare say that we probably do have to work way harder than the boomers ever have to get everything that they have. Like, we got to work way harder for that. Because let's be real, they was able to work one job. Well, we got to work too. And I know it. Most of us got to work too to just have, well, the essentials, like having your own place, your own car, and all that nice stuff.
Easier. And there are ways that we can do that. So both sides do have an argument on this. And I think both have selfish interests at heart. Both do. Older people in their homes, they want to see their homes increase in value. I understand that. Younger people are saying that's what's pricing us out. And all homes have skyrocketed, nearly all homes, in value recently in a way that is not in line with historical context. Let me give you the cold hard numbers. Okay, the USA median home prices. All right. So in the 1960s, 70s, they were about 3 or 4 times the median household income. You could pay that off much more quickly than today.
Boy.
In 2024, 25, it's 7 times the median household income, 10 times that in big cities. And by the way, you can't say that this is a result of unfettered capitalism because it's actually worse in other countries around the world. Certainly the most comparable places like Canada, Australia, the UK. It's worse, where they would tend to lean more left, as they would tell you, as far as social safety benefits, all of that. So let's first set the stage. Yes, it's true. From the 1950s to now, the average square footage of a home has more than doubled with way more amenities. That's true. More bathrooms, central air conditioning, 2-3 car garages are standards. That's your parents didn't have that. Those were considered luxuries. So that's true. So when people say, oh, why don't you just forego that? They would have a point, except for the fact that it's not possible in many instances. So why? Well, let me give you a few reasons, okay, that prices have sort of decoupled from wages. Construction costs, right? Increased competition from investors, illegals, foreign buyers, regulations that also increase costs and incentivize McMansions over starter homes, high interest rates. Let's go through them one by one. First contributor here, number one, the cost of construction has increased across the board. This is something that older generations may not be aware of.
This is something that, regulations can take care of. We cut back on certain regulations, maybe our production of, cement wouldn't be so expensive.
Construction worker shortage, right? That's one contributing factor. In 2024, there was a shortage of 500,000 construction workers. That's about $10 billion worth of delay costs, 19,000 fewer homes built. You could also argue that that's been spearheaded by the left because they've told everyone to go to college and fewer people want to go into construction. I used to do that. It's a summer job with Johnny Boy. Also, material costs skyrocketing. So the price of construction materials from 2016 to 25, they've gone up by about 46%. That has exceeded overall inflation.
Yeah, and you can also make sense of how that would play into the employment shortage. Because let's be real, they can be low on employees, but they can't be low on supplies needed for the project. So they can cash out and make sure they got all of their overly priced products and materials together. And guess what they're gonna have to take a hit on? Employment. So the shortage could mainly be because the materials are just too expensive to keep up with labor. It's either you have the labor or you don't have the materials, or you have the materials and you don't really have much of the labor. That's the choice that they're making right now. Also, taxing unrealized gains when the total is over 10 million in assets would help. These are all things that could help the people with with hearted reps. Unrealized gains. I don't know about that. I think Kamala Harris was showboating that one out, and a lot of people was like, "Oof, unrealized gains." That's a bit of a tricky one. Like I said, I don't know. I'd have to see how the money's being utilized, how much money we can bring in from doing that alone, just to understand. All right, well, maybe we can actually make this work. Because you actually looked at Kamala Harris's tax plan. A lot of people didn't really check it, but Kamala Harris was going to raise taxes across the board on everybody, from the everyday person to your multi-billionaire. She was going to raise the taxes across the board. That was her plan. So when they went out and said Kamala's plan is actually better for the economy, they said, well, her plan was better for the economy because it took more money away from you. When Trump's plan actually put more money in your pocket. So, and that's what, remember, and part of her plan was unrealized gains. So this is why I don't really like it, because usually when they throw unrealized gains in, they throw with a set of other taxes on top of it, which, like I said, makes things more unaffordable for the rich who gives us our jobs. Bro, look, parabolic. If these guys weren't the one giving us our jobs like crazy, I'll be all for supporting taxing the hell out of them. But sadly, they are. And the more we tax them, the less they're able to do for us. I'm not sure where you're not getting that. I do understand that you want their more revenue to go into the government to help with social services. I get that part. But at the risk of losing American jobs, at the risk of these jobs going overseas, I don't think that's helping us. No, like that's not working. Like your plan, the plan that you guys want, that the Dems want, just tax these guys to death and just think that they're just going to stick around, is not working.
Since COVID. So this is an industry, this is a sector that is hit worse than others. That's true. Increased costs. Number 2.
Oh, hot take. Want to help housing crisis? Deport all 20 million plus illegals, losing 3 rental properties and giving $50K to government to let illegals squat. I mean, yeah, and that's actually going on in certain states too, especially in New York. I did heard there was that squatting thing in New York where people literally go there, squat, and like the city would be making a hassle for you to remove these guys off the property that you're supposed to be renting out. They're supposed to be renting this out, but they're giving it to the illegal and they're telling you can't kick this guy out. It's like crazy.
Key fact here. Institutional investors and foreign buyers entering the game. It's not the only fact. It's not the only contributing factor, but it's an important one and one that boomers and older generations didn't have to contend with. So from 2000 to 2024, the percent of low-price homes bought by institutional investors, it went from 10%.
Hey, and shout out to Overkill. Appreciate the support, my man. He sent a hot cocoa for 60 joules, and now I actually want some hot cocoa. Well, 600 joules. But now I'm definitely in the mood for some hot cocoa.
Like, man. To 26%. And they turn a lot of them into rentals.
They do.
And they raise the prices for buyers.
Yep.
That's a problem. That alone changes the market a whole bunch along with the increased costs. Foreign buyers, flood markets like Miami. In the last 2 years, 52% of new construction, they were sold to foreigners.
Wow. What?
That also brings us to illegal.
What? Hold on. Go back on that. I need to hear that back one more time just for the people who might have missed that, because ain't no way bro just said that. Like,
flood markets like Miami. In the last 2 years, 52% of new construction, they were sold to foreigners.
Wow.
That also brings us to illegals, drive up rental rates. Trump, the deportations that he's carried out, prove it. So since President Trump 2.0, apartment vacancy rate is now at 7.2%. That's the highest ever.
Damn.
Rents dropped the last 5 months. That's the steepest drop in 15 years. Also, a lot of illegals.
Just for removing illegals, rent's already dropping. That's actually hilarious. Like, just for removing illegals and removing that competition, rent's already dropping. But, you know, they're here. Like, when illegals are here, it's harmless. They're not doing anything to you. You guys are just being cruel. It's like, okay, bro, okay. You know, raising medical prices, raising rent prices. It's all good, though. It's all good. They're here and they're harmless. All right, guys, let's just keep believing the lie.
That's just rent. That's what we can actually monitor, right? And it takes a while. There's a fuse with home purchases. There are illegal aliens purchasing homes. Same thing with overall inflation. Well, get rid of tens of millions of people who don't really pay for it because they're living a subsidized life, and that changes it. So get rid of people who have no business being here and aren't contributing tax-wise in a way that is comparable to native-born American citizens. That changes it. So institutional investors, foreigners, illegal aliens, skyrocketing costs. This brings us to key fact number 3. Regulations, local regulations and municipalities that incentivize McMansions over starter homes. What do I mean? They make money off of property taxes.
Yep. Now these guys are more incentivized to build big houses to bring in, you know, the rich people that'll pay the high property tax instead of, you know, building apartment complexes, starter homes, and all that good stuff. And here's the thing. Sadly, there's more money in building these big ass homes than a starter home.
They have a vested interest in increasing revenue. It is better for most municipal governments if home prices are higher. Everyone has an interest. Everyone who is in the market or everyone who collects revenue from the housing market currently has a vested interest in keeping prices high and seeing them increase. And I get that if you're in a home. I understand that. But couldn't you be okay with, you know, just seeing your home increase in value as it did historically and not double in value?
Yeah, I mean, can't you just like watch it appreciate, like, I don't know, like 4 or 5% over the year, like how it's usually supposed to be, instead of doubling and tripling within a couple of years? Like don't you think that's a bit strange? I'm talking to my boomers out there. Like, don't you think it's a bit off?
3 years. If you accept that it's kind of been artificially created. So let's go to local governments. So regulations, red tape, they account for an average right now about $94,000. That's a fixed price for each home. Okay. There are compliance costs too that are astronomical. So think about that.
Oh, and shout out Parabolic Curvature. He's like, my stance on closing tax loopholes. No facts. I'll say this, Parabolic Curvature. Your heart's in the right place with your arguments. That's why I like your arguments. Your heart's always in the right place with it. So I'll give you that one. If we could close these tax loopholes and we can find a fair way to distribute the tax without shooting these businesses in the foot and not allowing them to progress or grow their company in the United States, not in China, not in India, not in Vietnam, but the United States, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'll be for any tax that allow these companies to prosper within the United States and not have to go outside of us. As soon as we cross that line, I'm against it.
You take the construction materials, you have a $94,000 base price. You've seen a 46% inflation in construction materials costs. If you're a business, you're building homes, well, hold on a second. Our baseline now, our break-even point is, let's say, $300,000. And we really don't want to sell a home for less than $400,000. You're not going to be creating a home that can be sold for $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 when your fixed price just in red tape is $94,000 alone.
Damn.
So those companies aren't.
That's true. Like basically building a 100K house, you only be making 6,000 on. You built a 100K house. You spent 94,000 just to build said 100K house, and you're only going to make 6,000 on it. Yeah, if you're going to be spending $94,000, you might as well go all out. I doubt it would take 94,000 to build a smaller house, but if you are, you might as well go all out and get the most profit possible instead of building these small homes that's not going to give you much profit. So basically, the builders are incentivized to build bigger homes instead of smaller ones because they don't profit as much. So we got to make it profitable again for these builders to build smaller homes.
Aren't going to be making those homes. And those companies are precluded from making those kinds of homes because the local governments have an incentive to increase the bureaucratic costs. Why? Higher home values, higher property values means more property taxes. All of this contributes. And you can see it directly. You have municipalities, they practice something called fiscal zoning, where they mandate larger homes specifically to increase property tax revenue.
Damn.
And specifically to minimize the cost of public services. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, but what about tiny homes? Okay, yes, they've become more popular, kind of a trend, but they are somehow getting smaller and smaller. George Michael's a fan of it.
Nice yards.
And then key fact number 4.
No garage.
Interest rates are obviously higher right now.
I mean, here's the thing, though. We ain't asking for nothing crazy. Not like we're asking for a 3-story house with like, I don't know, like 4, 5, 8 bedrooms. We're asking for something modest. Like, dang, I just want a nice little, maybe 1, 2-story house. I don't know, maybe like 3, 4 bedrooms, nice little yard, and we're good neighbors. Like, I just want the essentials.
Since COVID, interest rates on 30-year mortgages have nearly doubled. Now, historically, they're not super high.
No.
But they are higher now after an artificial bubble where they were artificially suppressed. So people who required no money down and had no business purchasing homes purchased them.
Oof.
Right? So you had a flood, you had a bubble that was created, and now people who actually would be able to historically afford a home can't. So people who had no business getting homes got them in the name of equity. Remember that fun?
Yeah, that was a huge scam going on at the time, too. Like, a lot of people don't know this, but there was a huge scam going on during 2008 that created this housing bubble crisis. It was a whole bunch of lenders doing a whole bunch of duplicitous practices to get people who had no business getting a loan for housing. Like, bro, they were talking about people working at McDonald's getting a loan for like a 100K house. Like, knowing damn well they're going to default on it and all that good stuff. It was absolutely insane. Like, look up this guy, Michael Cox. He was actually like running this scam really well. And he'll walk you all the way through it and how he was getting people approved who had no business getting approved for these houses.
Word. And now people who have done it correctly, well, they're priced out. To give you an idea, the monthly payment, let's say on a $410,000 home with 10% down, just using general figures, you can check all the references. Pre-COVID, your monthly payment would be about $1,600 a month. Now it's about $2,250 a month.
Yeah. So that's just the mortgage payment. So we just talked about the median home price in the United States being around $400,000. That's $410,000. Put interest and taxes on that, and you're looking at about $4,000 per month for the median home,
right?
That you have to pay,
right?
$48,000 per year. How much do you have to make to have $48,000 after taxes and after all other expenses? To be able to afford that home.
Yeah. So
that's a ton.
And I am going to write out my solution here. But again, let's go through this just to recap. Okay. The reason that home prices are going up. Yep. Okay. We accept it. Bigger homes. Yep. More amenities. I get that. Sure. But what we also have is, again, cost of construction.
And he said, hit me with the Bartle do. What? Hey, yo, shout out to my man Jordan. The Bartle do. Wait, what's that? Am I missing something? Shoot, you about to make me go look it up.
All right, the increase overall have gone up across the board. We have institutional investors, foreign buyers in the game. We have, of course, illegal immigrants there who are contributing to it as well. There are incentives from regulatory bodies to increase the cost and red tape so that McMansions are built instead of first-time homes. That's something that's just not really being built anymore. And local governments, municipal governments taking part in that, as well as interest rates being high since COVID. And we kind of have to make up for what we did, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the housing crisis. All right, so what's the solution? I have a 6-point plan here. This is just a suggestion, a jumping off point, because people act like we don't know where to start. Number one, here's what you do.
Okay.
You ban the purchase of single-family homes by institutional investors.
Thank you.
BlackRock, Vanguard. Nope, can't do it.
I mean, it's like a common sense policy at this point that I'm actually mad that the Trump administration hasn't hopped on by now. Like, really think about it. If we're really talking about house affordability, that's like the number one thing I would have took care of is, BlackRock, Vanguard. I ain't gonna lie, you guys are gonna have to relinquish some of these properties because it makes no sense. If you want to buy commercial property for factories or land to build factories on so you can give American jobs, I'm all for that. But you buying single family households for what, bro? Like, for what? You're giving your executives free housing? Like, please let us know where you're going with this. But right now you're just making it hard on the American citizen. So I would immediately ban that. That should have been like the first thing the Trump administration did. That should have been like an executive order yesterday.
Restrict it to individual owner-occupiers, right? People buying homes, or small local providers, home providers. You set a cap on it, and you certainly have to live in the state. There's no reason that a company who is stationed overseas should be buying up all the property in Miami any more than there's a reason for someone in Texas to be buying all the property in Idaho. You want to flip some houses?
Hot take. The U.S. is the base of the world economy. Yeah, we are. We are the world. We are the biggest consumer economy, and people literally countries live off our consumerism. Like, they have no choice. It's like how we literally have the world economy by the balls is through our consumerism, and China through their selling. Now what he also says is people around the world should care about American policies since policies affect the world, and in a way they do. Like, trust me, the way we're moving in Venezuela is shaking things around the world right now. A lot of people are kind of a bit shaking in their boots because they're really wondering where we're going with this. And they're wondering why we're also pulling back from being a global power. We got Europe in a frenzies right now because we're about to pull out of NATO and let them handle their own problems with Russia. Like, trust me, American policies are already heard around the world. Like, actually, I could just show you this quick little video if you haven't seen it already.
So America just quietly dropped a new global doctrine. It basically says we're not the world's police anymore. Jeez, finally. We're the boss of our own hemisphere and everyone else can deal with theirs. On December 5th, the White House released Trump's new national security strategy. Inside the document is something they're already calling the Trump corollary to the old Monroe Doctrine. Translation, the United States is already declaring dominance over the Western Hemisphere. North America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. He's basically saying that this is our neighborhood, our rules. At the same time, it signals something huge. America is stepping back from trying to manage every crisis on the planet. Here's the core of it. America first, but not just the slogan, as the actual blueprint. The strategy says that the US is done acting like a global babysitter and instead wants to be a regional superpower at home with select pressure overseas. It talks about sovereignty, borders, migration, cartels, critical minerals, energy, not spreading democracy or building global institutions. And in Europe, the document literally talks about civilization erasure, mass migration, and agricultural collapse and basically tells Europe you're on your own. In the Americas, this doctrine means cracking down on cartels and narco-terror groups, pushing back hard on China's influence in Latin America, and trying to stabilize countries down south so mass migration doesn't end up on US border. In Europe, leaders are freaking out. French and EU leaders are calling it brutal and a declaration of political war, because it blows up the old idea that America will always bail out Europe first. And on Russia and China, this doctrine quietly accepts a world of spheres of influence, meaning that it acknowledges that there are only 3 global powers: the US, Russia, and China. The goal is to avoid a giant global war by not trying to run everything anymore. So here's the question: is this smart realism where we're admitting that we can't police the entire planet, or is it dangerous because it gives Russia, China, and Iran more room to operate in their own backyards? Does America get strong?
Whoops. All right, guys. Now, to be quite honest with you, when it comes to that plan, I'm honestly all for it. I'm all for it because when you actually look how all great civilizations have fallen, it's through world conquest. It's through trying to be a global power that ends up straining our resources, straining our economics, and then we end up in a collapse. It's happened to Britain. It happened to Spain, bro. It happened to Rome. So every single time a great civilization has tried to be the global superpower, they collapse. So let's walk this back a little bit and let's just be a hemispherical power. And let's see how that works for us, because it's a lot easier and a lot cheaper to handle our side of the world than handle the entire world. And the world just gonna have to get down with that, because NATO, you're no longer gonna be able to latch on to the superpower that is America, and you're gonna have to play nice with the superpower that is Russia.
Okay, great.
And then pray to God that China don't get involved. But we don't got that problem though over here in America, though. I mean, that's something you guys got to figure out.
Do it in your state. Do it in your municipality where you have a vested interest in it actually being a functioning community. So number one, ban that. That can't happen. That's not anti-free market.
No, it's good.
That's anti-market manipulation. Number two, only citizens and local permanent residents can buy homes with strict verification. No more illegal aliens can buy homes. And I'll get to even legal immigrants. We'll get to that. What kind of stipulations there? We verify it. I don't know if you know this. That's not the case. Many places in the United States. Number three, severe penalties for selling or renting to any illegals.
Thank you.
That also means, of course, in combination with deportations being sped up and stronger borders. So we plug the hole. We start draining what's in the boat right now.
Yep.
Okay. Number four, for legal immigrants, a renting period only for the first 2 years of residency. Meaning if you come here, you're on a visa, you have a green card, for 2 years, you have to rent. You know, like people who are coming up into the economy, who are born here, going to college, what they have to do, they have to rent. Prevents an immediate shock to the purchase market, and it disincentivizes people who say, I'll just go to the States and I will buy a house, put 19 family members in it and ride it up. Nope. If you move here, hey, it's the cost of the most valuable citizenship eventually, or residency in the world. That's number four.
Okay.
I realized my fingers weren't going with it. Four. Number five, incentivize starter homes with tax breaks, basically a write-off. So that, well, that would be for individuals, sorry. Tax breaks for builders first.
Yeah.
So that's five.
They'd still write stuff off, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
To build entry-level homes. Because a lot of this is municipal, so it would have to be offset on a federal level. In other words, if your local government is going to say, actually, we're going to increase these costs and you're going to have to do this extra certification, verification, okay, let's nationally have something to offset that for builders. So it makes sense for builders to build smaller starter homes. It shouldn't be the choice of a tiny home gimmick because there's a documentary on Netflix or McMansion. That wasn't historically your choice. Your only choice, I should say. We need to make building smaller starter homes profitable again, because that's your first step, right? You get a starter home and then you upgrade. That's what people used to do. It's very difficult to do now. Finally, number six, first-time home buyers.
I mean, yeah, what people used to do was like, bro, get their starter home, pretty much work, get that paid off. And then now that they have that equity, I mean, now they can go ahead and buy a bigger home in a nicer neighborhood while also keeping that other starter home and renting it out to somebody else. And I mean, there you go. They got some, one, of course, they got that asset. And two, the asset is now making money.
Get a tax write-off for their first year. Whatever you pay on your mortgage, that's now a write-off. Because a lot of hardworking Americans who are looking to buy a home, these are the types of Americans who typically pay taxes, and they have to plan for a big bill at the end of the year. In some cases, when I rented, I could write off my home office far more generously than when I moved into a house and had the studio in my garage. My whole house was people lived in my house. But why in any world should we be incentivizing rent?
All right, yeah, Parabolic, I'll give you that one. Yeah, I'll give you that one. You're right. Yeah, you're right. The barbarians and vetting had a huge role in that as well. But of course, their expansion did as well. Like, let's be real. Like, trying to be a global power just never really works out for anybody. Nobody. Not one single dictator, ruler, or nation. It just never works out. I don't know, man. Maybe just something that God just wrote into the plan.
Renting over buying. So if you're buying a home for the first time, that first year, whatever you spend, your mortgage, at least, that's a write-off. That's a deduction on your taxes. So let me walk you back through it. 6-point plan, okay, just to make sure there's no misinterpretation. Ban of purchases from institutional investors or foreign investors on single-family home units. Only citizens, local permanent residents can buy homes with very strict verification, severe penalties for anyone housing, renting to, or selling homes to illegal aliens, along with increased deportations. An legal immigrant renting period for the first 2 years of residency. Incentivize starter homes on the builder side with tax breaks, tax credits, and then incentivize first-time home buyers with a tax deduction for them.
And these are all great plans that I'm surprised nobody in Congress, Senate, or the Senate, or in Trump's administration has honestly put forward. Got a 50-year mortgage, but they couldn't invoke any one of these 6 plans
that first year. Do I think that would fix everything? No, I think it would make a really big dent. And so you have to ask yourself, if these are reasonable proposals, why not? Why not? Why is nothing like this being done? Why is nothing like this being proposed? This is where people have legitimate grievances with the Republican Party and this administration. And ignore this. Hey, President Trump, ignore this at your own peril.
Yeah.
Ignore this, J.D. Vance, at the guaranteed failure of your presidential run next go around. You got to do something. And these are really very low cost measures to take. So why not? Well, we'll talk about why not.
Yeah, because why not? Because if you, like I said, the way he's setting it up, it just sounds like a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't you set this up if your goal is to tackle affordability? And the Trump administration needs to be held accountable in that way. So, like I said, like, it's not like I'm trying to completely dissolve Trump of the accountability crisis. I'm just gonna sit there and say that these price increases ain't his fault, but he can be doing more to solve it. Just as Steven Crowder said, all this could be done in an executive order today.
People have a point. When people talk about APEC money, and APEC can go fornicate themselves with a wire brush, to be clear. Did you see their new ad, by the way?
No.
It was awful.
Oh, no.
Terrible. Talk about tone deaf.
Are they celebrating Christmas?
But they're not. No, come on now. Don't think smart with me.
Listen.
What about BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street? Too big to fail. Giant banks. What about the Realtors Association? What about the SEIU? What about the Public Teachers Association, right? A lot of people take money from these entities. So they don't want to speak out again. You think any of them want to say, no, you guys can't, you can't take part in what has been one of your most profitable endeavors at the cost of home buyers in the United States of America? They don't want to do that. Certainly no Democrats want to do this. This is where and by the way, I'm pretty sure that I can say this, and Nick Fuentes will be okay with it. I was pretty clear that I disagree with him. This is where I disagree with someone like a Nick Fuentes, where, well, you know what? It's for the common good of the American people. It's not right versus left. You can't join hands with the left because they would never, ever compromise on illegal immigration.
Right.
Let alone forbidding them from buying houses. Why? They want a voting base. And it's a conversation that'll happen. I think I can say that.
Really think about this, though. And Democrats, if you're still listening to this, and I don't got all MAGA by now, I want y'all to really think about this. Like, why haven't nobody in your state have done this by now? Like, all this could be done by your governor. It could be done by the president. I mean, a lot of this, and think about it, especially when it comes to the immigrants. So a lot of reasons why in blue states is so expensive when it comes to rent is because you guys have lax immigration laws, like, and you notice through your sanctuary cities. So you guys are crying about affordability while also supporting the very things that make things unaffordable for you. I mean, like regulations, especially when it comes to the EPA regulations, immigration, you support illegal immigration in sanctuary cities, all this stuff that make things more expensive for you. But you dare complain about the president when you vote for leadership that, I'm be real with you, that supports the policies that you want that make things more expensive on who? You.
He'll disagree.
Yeah.
He'll show up. Isn't that something?
Weird.
And people condemn you for it. It's like, yeah, of course I would never link arms with the left. So there are a few reasons why these won't happen. Hey, do you think that municipal governments are going to try and push for lower regulatory costs so that home values don't go up? And here's the thing, I get it. If you're in a house, I understand you want it to go up in value. But I mean, I can tell you this. I bought a house for about $400,000. Nice house. I know that's better than most people can afford. I was very blessed to be able to do it, but it wasn't a mansion by any means in a nice neighborhood. Sold for like $800,000 only a few years later. That's not normal.
No.
If it would have sold for $550,000, I'm still getting out above inflation. Great. That's what people historically had. So, yeah, we need to correct the market right now because it's been artificially inflated and deflated, and people need to be okay with getting into a home and it, in most cases, outpacing inflation, but you're not going to be making a killing so that other people can purchase home. You know, the way it was for the generation in the 50s, 60s, and 70s who purchased their first homes.
Yeah.
We need to be okay with that. It's the same thing as Social Security. It's a third rail. No one wants to talk about it because people go, oh, my house price is going up. I don't want to do that. Yeah. What if it just goes up, contextually in a way that's appropriate? Would you be okay with that?
Well, that is true though. It's like, bro, we spend a good amount. Like I would say, what do they say? About 40 to 60% of our budget. Yes, of the $6 trillion budget that we have go towards Social Security payments. So if we ever really wanted to tackle the debt crisis, the best place to go to would be Social Security. But the old guys would lose their effing minds. They would. If we told them, yo, are you willing to take a payment cut for the financial security of, the younger generation, bro, they'll look us dead in our eyes and tell us F no. Go ahead and, run me my check right to our face. And this is where a lot of people have grievances with the boomer generation because that's what they've been doing to our face like all their life. Pretty much been basically almost throwing away our financial future so they can get off easy. And this is why one reason why I don't like Social Security, because I'm just like, yo, maybe we do need to have that conversation with the older generation. Like, look, are you guys willing to take these lower checks so we can low-key fix this problem? If not, then I'm gonna be real with you. You guys are a part of the problem. And I know it's fucked up to say that because it's Social Security, but I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Noodles?
I was just going to say, I was in a similar boat. I didn't sell for that well, but
and then people pay into Social Security. People pay into everything, bro. Our whole tax budget, we all paid into. What are you saying? Like, that doesn't even make sense. I'm telling you, if that's your argument, it's not a good argument. We're talking about trying to solve the debt, trying to make sure that our generation, the next generation, actually has a financial future, and the boomers really don't give a fuck. I mean, especially when we want to bring up Social Security. If they truly care, they'd be like, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. We need to cut Social Security. Maybe we might have to take lower checks, but at least the next generation has a financial chance. About as easy as that.
I bought low, sold high on a house, but what people don't take into account is, your house is raising in value, so is every other house. So it's not like you're going.
No, the thing about it is welfare, because like we pay into welfare, we all pay into Social Security. It's the same thing. But like I said, not like I disagree with the premise of Social Security. I'm just saying that we do spend a lot on it. Actually, it's one of our biggest expenditures. Our biggest expenditures: Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Those are our big three right there, and then military.
To get into a similar house for what you bought your original house for.
Right.
So.
Right. And I think that's a really key point, is that this is a store of wealth for a lot of people. This is what they pass down to their children after having lived in a home for 30, 40, 50 years. That's where it comes into play.
Sure.
Not so much as like moving and going to another house. So I think a lot of people are thinking like, hey, I've got a lot of my, in a lot of cases, all of what I'm going to be able to leave to my children tied up in this asset.
Meanwhile, their kids can't buy a house.
Exactly. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? So it's a really difficult problem that we have to solve, but I understand where people are coming from. What I don't like is the city involvement. Cities are never going to want less money and less power,
right?
Ever. And so a lot of cities have ordinances on how many stories you can have buildings. And that's not to necessarily prevent like an office building from having a fourth floor.
Right.
It's to make sure you can have high-rise apartments and complexes there, because it does put a strain on city services.
I mean, you see, some people even in the chat right now, but Social Security we put into it. I just told you, if it's at if it's at the destruction of the economic future of the next generation, is that okay with you? And if you're just telling us, F you guys, run us our check, then okay then. I mean, at least you could do a stand on it and not try to give us all these flowery arguments. It's like, I'm sorry, but is yes or no? Yes or no? Would you be willing to take a Social Security check to ensure the financial future of the next generation? Are you willing to do that? I would. Like, shoot, even if that means I'm not going to get Social Security or I'm going to get a little Social Security check, I guess I just got to make sure I'm being more responsible with my money as I get older. I mean, if that means that my kid and their kids get to be assured a financial future in America, I'm willing to do that. And I ain't even got no kids and I'm willing to do that. And some of y'all do, and y'all not willing to do that. So what's that say about you?
A strain on police. It also can, if you bring more people into a neighborhood that have lower rent prices than the homes surrounding it, typically lower economic people coming in, you change the makeup of the neighborhood, make it less safe, potentially a little bit more hazardous. Right? So I get it. And home value prices go down.
But you fix that if you go, hey, you need 10% down. Here's a reasonable interest rate. And we actually want to encourage more buying than renting.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So I don't really see any pitfalls beyond like, maybe your home will appreciate quite a bit, not double. Not to be fair, in my case, I moved into a neighborhood where the median age was like 80.
That's true.
So a bunch of them died and a bunch of younger people moved in and spruced up the houses. So it was very accelerated.
Yeah.
I mean, where I moved in the house, remember it had carpet around the toilets.
I do. And I'm like, why?
Oh, for the love of
It had carpet around the toilets. Because it was just an old man. Like everything was old.
Who does that?
Well, in Texas, everyone wants to look at a house and look, sometimes it's their own fault. Like, I want it to look brand new. They don't go, hey, I could change something. We just changed the carpet. We changed some paint. It was a great house. A lot of people go like, those old man skid marks right around the toilet. I don't want to.
I got AstroTurf on my truck.
I have that, like at a dog park, the AstroTurf.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
It just goes down to some netherworld. I don't know.
I have turf. I didn't realize that with turf, you have to vacuum it.
You do.
Yeah. So it's
weird.
It's actually more work, but it did help me win the war with the spiders. I created a perimeter.
I can't afford a house. Wah, get a tent. Shut up.
Well,
was that you said you could fix it?
Yeah, that's it. One word.
Okay,
tent.
all right. Tent.
Yeah.
It worked beautiful in LA. See the sidewalks? Gorgeous.
That's a good point.
No, it's a big problem.
It's
think,
rustic.
I think states need to take this over.
Bucolic.
So there's been some issues where local municipalities, they just get out of control. They really do. These people don't know what the hell they're doing. I've dealt with a lot of them. They are glorified failures in the rest of the business world that just go into city service. Not all of them. There's a bunch of people that are great, but like Texas at the state level has come into local municipalities and said, you can't do that.
Well,
you can't just make this random rule to keep people out of your neighborhood.
And by the way, it is blind to what kind of a culture you see in the community. So my parents lived in an area, knew their neighbors that had block parties, right? Halloween, it was fun. They kind of would do like a trunk or treat. Now they're surrounded by Indians where my parents have the HOA call them because they have the wrong blinds in their front, in one of their guest bedroom windows. But the neighbor has a chicken coop and 14 Indian families who will never even greet you with a hello. That's the thing too. People come here, they'll take a job for 30% less than an American would do that job for, but they move in 19 extended family members and they buy up all the homes. That's an issue too. No, you come here, you have to wait a couple of years.
How about a moratorium on immigration?
Yep.
Legal, illegal. Shut the gates for the next 20 years. Seriously.
Outside of the actual brain drain, the most skilled people, where if you're bringing someone in for $1 million or CEO, sure. Some German engineer, we get it. We're not talking about you. And by the way, there are already avenues that exist. It's not H-1B.
It's Ted Kennedy. I still blame that asshole.
Yeah.
Just shut the gates right after the last European came in.
Yeah, well, he was the only one.
He opened it to the world.
Yeah. The only person who did not have Marilyn Monroe open herself up to him. The only Kennedy.
That's true.
Who didn't get bedded by Marilyn Monroe.
That's true.
That's why he's so cranky. Get those.
I've seen her ass.
Get those godforsaken windmills out of my Cape Cod house. I'm sexually frustrated.
She's a hooah.
She's a hooah.
My bad, guys. My bad. So what's going on here, guys, is that, people talk about tackling the deficit. They talk about how we do need to, balance the deficit and all this good stuff, but they don't really mean it. They don't, because what that means is that we got to at least cut at least 30 to 40% into Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, since those are our biggest expenditures. Actually, if we just cut out of those alone, we would probably be running a surplus. But that's the problem, though. I mean, these social services, these Dems like to harp on, and therefore we're just footing the bill for it. I mean, like I said, though, but it's also shooting us in the foot when it comes to trying to dig us out of this whole debt ordeal. I don't know, man. It's kind of funny how these Dems kind of argue this, because it's like, yeah, I kind of know that you're kind of sending us into economic turmoil. I mean, especially when Biden was over here trying to fill in the patches with extra spending. That ain't help us. But all right, guys, it's about time for me to head out on this one, though. I do appreciate y'all for tuning in. Shout out to my man Jordan. He says Tove. Hey, shout out Tove. Hey, we all love Tove. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything. Oh yeah, there was something I wanted to show you guys. It was a bit surprising. I showed it last night, and I know it caught some people off guard. Let me see here if I can find it, bro, because this was wild when I first heard it. I was like, whoa. Couldn't even believe I heard it. Couldn't even believe I heard it come out somebody's mouth. But check this out. Sometimes can, like, you know how they say that Muslims ain't our best friends? Well, you know what? Sometimes I wonder who is our religious best friend out here in these streets, or is it just us?
I always wonder how dumb this goyim sometimes can be. Like they say, you killed our God. That means he wasn't a God. How can kill a God? Normal. How stupid you could be. You killed our God. Who was your God? JC. If he was God, we could kill him. I always wonder how dumb.
JC, man. They don't even say the man by his name. By his name. But, these are the same group of people that are trying to convince you that Muslims are the evilest people in the world, even though they would never say something like that about Jesus Christ. Bro didn't even want to say his name. Didn't even want to say his name.
You have 6 billion idol worshippers who makes God angry every second of their life. Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Tibet, Nepal, Thailand. So many. India alone is 500 million. China is 2 billion. So many. 2 billion Christians, which are idol worshippers. Between Chinese, Hindus, Buddhists, and Christian, at least 6.5 billion people are idol worshippers that, according to the Torah, do not have the right to live. Idol worshipper goy, it's death penalty. Not only Jews, even a goy who bow down to an idol, who believe in JC, deserve death penalty.
And this is a well-known rabbi, not like well-known as Rabbi Shmuley, but this is a well-known guy whose clips has actually been circulating around the internet. And it's kind of like, when y'all try to talk all that ish about Muslims and Muslims don't like Christians and all that, I'm just like, where's that same heat for guys like this?
So why today Jews go to places that Christians make churches? Because the idol worshipping of the Christians is not as bad as the idol worshippings of Nepal or India and other places. Because they still believe in our God, but they believe in somebody else. It's called shituf, cooperation. When a Jew comes and reads in a book of God that Christians and Muslims admit that is the book of God, there's no debate about it. Everyone agrees, the 3 main religions. The point that I'm making here is, when we read in the Torah that Christians also read in their churches and Muslims also read in their schools.
Any good Christian, before Jesus showed up, who was right? Were the Jews right, or was the rest of the world right? They will tell you, Christians say, of course the Jews were right. They were God's chosen people. Up until the point they killed Jesus, they were God's people. They were correct. Christians and Muslims agree the foundations of Judaism are true. Christians and Muslims agree God revealed himself at Mount Sinai. But came along Jesus, he was the Messiah. He was God himself. He can't prove that.
I mean,
he died.
Well, I mean, you got one religion that doesn't disrespect your, the Messiah, the Savior, Jesus Christ, and you got one that does. But for some reason, we shell out the talking points from the religion that don't like us too much. Strange. But I'll leave you guys to think about that, guys. This is Said with Said Media, and I'll catch you guys on the next show. Peace.
We have some horrible breaking news. There's been a mass shooting at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. Have they caught the suspect? No, and this is important because there's been some contradicting reports. The school sent out an alert around 5 p.m. Eastern time saying they've caught the suspect, but then they took that back, urging students to remain sheltered in place as the suspect remains at large. Where did the shooting happen? It started at approximately 4:10 p.m. Eastern time in the vicinity of the Barris and Holly building, which the school said multiple final exams were taking place in that building at that time. And then about an hour later, the school reported additional gunfire near Governor Street, but the school has just backtracked on that report of the hour later gunfire. Obviously, this is an ongoing situation, and authorities are urging everyone in the area of Brown University to remain sheltered in place as the suspect, again, remains at large. Do we know how many people have been shot? Some reports indicate around 20 people were shot with multiple casualties, although authorities have not yet confirmed those numbers. Wow.